What's going on? Good Monday to you. Happy morning and 104.5 The Zone Studios. I am Robert Walsh. Happy Underwear Olympics Week. The Combine starts this week, and 104.5 The Zone will be well represented as Ramon Foster and Buck Rising make themselves familiar with some NFL draft prospect, mostly team meetings and medicals until Thursday workouts start with defensive linemen and linebackers. Two of the top quarterback prospects announced they would not be working out at the Combine this week. Caleb Williams and Jaden Daniels will be in Indy for meetings, but will wait for their individual pro days to work out for NFL teams. And in the NHL, Preds complete a 5-game road trip sweep for the first time in team history, beating Anaheim 4-2 yesterday. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Monday morning and kicking off a brand new week on Ramon, Kayla, and Will. Right here on 104.5 The Zone. RKW is brewed by 8th and Roast, cultivating community by the cup. You can find your favorite retail bag of 8th and Roast coffee in every local Kroger and Whole Foods as well. The NFL Combine is here. A brand new team kicks off a brand new season in Nashville as Nashville SC gets started yesterday. Lots to discuss as Tennessee wins its injunction hearing against the NCAA. And the Vols get a little revenge, Texas-sized, against the Texas Aggies over the weekend. 615-737-1045, the number. Streaming live at 104.5 The Zone TV, where you can watch Ramon Foster, Kayla Anderson, Robert Walsh, our producer. I'm Will Bowling. Monday, February 26th, and the NFL Combine is here. Good morning.
Morning, good people. Happy Monday, man.
I can't believe how quick this February month has gone. We even get an extra day in February, by the way. 29 days. That seems weird.
Leap year.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that will be celebrating their actual birthday this year, too, the 29ers. So that's always fascinating. We used to always joke about that as kids. So when is your birthday? Oh.
That's interesting.
Yeah. The 29ers will have their actual birthday today. So it's a good day.
I hope Leap Day William brings you what you ask for.
What is Leap Day? Is that a thing that goes along with it? Mm-hmm. Oh, I had no idea that was
Leap Day William.
Leap Day William.
From the show 30 Rock.
Oh,
okay.
Never watched 30 Rock.
It's a good one.
I've seen clips and stuff like that of it. I'm barreling down, too, on the show on Netflix and watching The Recruit. It's pretty solid. Like, it's not like a great acting. I don't know what it is. It just seemed like, okay, the production might have been middle of the road, but the storyline's really, really good. I've actually enjoyed it so far.
It seems like it's a good show.
It
I haven't
is.
had the chance to dive into that one yet.
It is.
But
It's a good show.
Good.
Yeah, it is a good show. I like it. Getting into the DC stuff and CIA is actually pretty legit. It's up my alley, that type of stuff. Was it you that told me about it, Will?
Yep.
It was?
I watched it about a year ago.
You did? Yeah, that's right. It was done in 2022. Okay. For
Yeah,
sure.
it's good.
Yeah, it's pretty solid, man. Eventful weekend this weekend for me. Nah, sat outside all day Saturday. Had a baseball scrimmage to go to. So
I can't remember the weather on. Was that? It was pretty nice.
it was
wasn't
chilly,
It? Breezy?
somewhat chilly Saturday, but
Yeah.
it was no cloud in the sky and the sun warms you up good enough. It was pretty legit.
As long as the sun was out, I feel like we were good this weekend.
Yeah, it was good. It was solid. I'm sure the Woo girls went crazy this weekend for sure.
Oh yeah,
I
they
enjoy
always
hearing
do.
those stories.
They have a little bit of stuff flowing through them too, so they're not cold.
No, they're not.
No
Between
way.
that and the pedal taverns.
Right. Oh, by the way, you guys, I'm so excited for You're Not That Guy this week.
What you got?
I had an experience this morning that I feel thrilled to talk to y'all about on, what was it? What do we do it now? Wednesdays?
Wednesday.
We do.
Yeah. So I'm excited because this is actually very scary for the people that I'm going to call out.
Oh, okay. I'm here for that. I can't wait to hear that.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to that one.
615-737-1045, NSC, a scoreless draw against New York Red Bulls yesterday. Good to be back talking soccer on the Zone. Sellout crowd at Geodis Park.
Yeah.
And a busy week continues as they play again Wednesday. That one not on the zone, but they have got a loaded fixture list, and as long as they don't lose by 4 on Wednesday, they will be hosting Lionel Messi in the next week in the CONCACAF Champions Cup again. So that is something to monitor over the next week and a half. They play essentially every midweek and every weekend for the next couple weeks.
Do they play probably the most games and not have enough of a break out of any type of league in America?
No. Well, out of America, yeah, I thought you were going to say in all of soccer.
No, not all of soccer, but I always remember just that short off season for those guys.
Kind of short.
It's probably about like baseball.
Yeah.
About the same.
I guess baseball does kind of go back early now, too.
October to February. It's about that long. Yeah, they actually start playing here soon. So,
yeah. MLS is October to February also.
Golly.
Well, I mean,
tough.
preseason is January, so.
Right.
Yeah. Probably our shortest.
That's about
crazy.
right. That is pretty crazy right there.
No
But
time for much.
I would say no contact, but I'm sure Will's like, no, there's plenty of contact out there as far as like physicality, the running side of it. Like, so the question I have, most people that play major sports, basketball players, football, hockey probably, I'm not sure about baseball, but like the wear and tear on their bodies, does it hit soccer players just the same? It does?
Yeah, I mean, you've got to run about 5 miles per game if you're a midfielder.
Jeez.
So you've got to be in running shape pretty quickly. And that's one of the challenges in this league is that guys show up at different fitness levels, and you've got to all be ready to run, especially in this system Nashville runs. You've got to be able to run quite a bit pretty immediately. So their preseason is hard. And Gary Smith, the coach, told us that over the weekend. Like, no, we work them because they've got to be ready to run a lot of miles at the beginning of the season, especially when you have an extra competition that Nashville now has in the CONCACAF Champions Cup this year.
Yeah. All in all, good call this weekend, though?
Yeah, it was smooth. I mean, enjoyed doing it with Lucas. I mean, it was good to be back. The first game is always, you feel rusty. You forget which words to use to describe like 20 different ways to say kick or pass or shot and things of that nature. But it felt smoother than it did starting last year.
Yeah.
Because now I've got a year under my belt of seeing all these teams, understanding what they do and who their players are without having to look at my notes. So it's kind of second nature knowing who a lot of the Red Bulls players are and things like that. But it was a fun game.
Yeah,
Scoreless, but fun game. Red Bulls hit the post 3 times. Joe Willis made 5 saves for Nashville, a couple point-blank breakaway saves. So it was a good time. Crowd was awesome.
It was.
Totally awesome.
Any empanadas before the game, though?
I did not. I was on pregame.
You was on pregame. Okay, for sure. By the way, dude, I for sure somewhat regret because I could have made it. Did not go to the UT game, the basketball game.
I was gonna say basketball or baseball.
Basketball.
They took dubs all weekend.
Yeah.
Well, the oldest ended up traveling with the baseball team this weekend, the high school squad. It's weird I got a high schooler, y'all. I'm gonna be honest, it hadn't sunk in yet.
That
I got a
is kinda
high
crazy.
schooler. Keisha and I were talking. It's like, how did we get here? I said, procreating in 2007. That's how it happened, okay?
You want to get into specifics.
All right. There he is.
That's about as clean as you get, okay? Birth in 2008. That's how it goes. But I saw the optics of them doing, I don't know if it was a drone or what, but when they were doing the intros and the flames were on the court site and introducing head shooting guard oh my God. The intro for that. Excuse me for a second, Kayla.
Was this basketball or baseball?
Basketball.
Okay.
We gotta show you this. Let me.
There's a drone?
I don't know who it was or what it was.
Oh my
Let me
goodness.
UT this thing out real quick. I ain't gonna lie. Tennessee, I know we got some problems in our fan base, okay? I know how people feel about us. But I don't care, okay? I'm here to tell you. We do celebrations right. The intros, the checkerboard kneeling, the checkerboard TBA now, the fire inside the arena, the pyro that was on top of it, and then they won this weekend. I was like, man, I'm so doggone hyped to be a UT Vol because whatever is after this era, I'm fully appreciative of what winning and feel-good days look like because it comes so far in between. Like, it's been times we play teams like them and be like, man, I don't know if I'm going to win. Like, the pride that I have in the Vols and just the presentation of stuff, I'm telling y'all, if you're a fan of your sport and they're doing well, Embody it, breathe it, take it in, buy the merch, enjoy it. Because I was at home watching that intro just pan into the TBA, and I was just like, oh my, we should be there. That's what I was saying. We should be there.
So I thought you were talking about your kid. And this was his entrance to his basketball game. And I was like, wait, what's going on? So this makes a lot more sense now. Yes.
Oh, screw them kids, man.
Were you watching it at your kid's game, though?
No, I was watching it because it was 8 o'clock. We were at home by that time. And just seeing the intro of how they came onto the court and how they announced the players. They had both of the pyros on there, and they had fireworks going crazy, and they darkened the arena. I was just like, Vols, man, y'all do it well. They did it good. I fully enjoy where this university's at right now.
Well, that's the thing. Remember that day we were talking about recruits, and I was like, man, if you can bring a recruit in on a weekend where you're having Tennessee basketball play, you're having, Tennessee baseball play.
Same day.
You can let them, kind of embody that winning culture, because that's what Tennessee is in right now, I feel like, is just everybody is buying in, and it's paying off because a lot of these teams are winners.
Mm-hmm. I'll tell you what else we won, too.
What?
An injunction in court this past weekend.
That is right. Yeah, that came down on, Friday? I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
We'll get to all that this show, these next 4 hours, as we discuss the weekend headlines and get you ready for the NFL Combine, which officially starts today in a lot of ways for a lot of players. So we will do that throughout the morning. 615-737-1045. Coming up at 7:20 this morning, we'll dive into how much you can help or hurt yourself at the NFL Combine and go back to Ramon's NFL Combine experience. What do you want to see from Titans prospects in Indy this week? Justin Melo of the Draft Network will join us at 8:20. We'll debut a new segment, Lie or Legit, in the season of lies that is the NFL offseason. What is real and what is fake? That's coming up at 9:20 this morning. But coming up next, how NFL Combine stars have panned out throughout their careers. As we take a look at big names who might have run fast or jumped far, how did they fare in their NFL careers? 615-737-1045, plus headlines around the league. Next.
It's Ramon Foster for Genesis Diamonds. They have a huge Rolex event coming up. Matter of fact, my guy hit me up over there and said, hey, you want to come to this event? But I'm telling you, it's at Genesis Diamonds. It's your chance to get that rare, hard-to-find luxury timepiece this Friday, Saturday, and Sunday at Genesis. They are hosting an epic pre-owned luxury Rolex event featuring stunning new selections of hard-to-find Rolex models, all the hottest models that people wait years for. These are carefully chosen timepieces in pristine condition. During the event, you can take advantage of special pricing, zero-interest financing. And listen to this. With the purchase of any luxury pre-owned Rolex at this event, Genesis will give you a pair of 2-carat lab-grown diamond stud earrings free. That's a $4,000 value. Also for this event, Genesis pre-owned Rolex buyers are on site offering top dollar for your Rolex so you can buy, sell, or trade. So come see the largest selection of luxury pre-owned Rolex watches in the state and take advantage of the special financing and get a pair of 2-carat lab-grown diamond stud earrings for free this Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, only at Genesis Diamonds, your home for luxury pre-owned Rolexes. They're located in Green Hills and Cool Springs.
Monday morning on Ramon, Kayla, and Will is brewed by 8th and Roast, RKW. Ramon Foster, Kayla Anderson, Will Bowling. 615-737-1045 is how you join us, and streaming live on 1045 The Zone TV, Facebook Live, YouTube, Twitter, or Twitch.
Twitch, please.
NFL Combine getting started this week. Combine stars, Ramon Foster, oftentimes end up being NFL stars. Or they're John Ross, former Washington wide receiver who ran a 4.22 40-yard dash, had the NFL thinking that he was the next big star at wide receiver, and then ultimately fell flat. High first-round pick, but was not that level of superstar. How do you differentiate between the athletic freaks and the good football players?
How you different, man? You want them to pair up together. That's ultimately why John Ross will get drafted as high as he did, because you see that 4.22. You know how quick that is.
I do know how quick that is.
I mean, goodness. And you think you can make a weapon out of that until you realize, well, they can run that fast, but they can't run and catch at the same time. You want these type of guys on your team because everybody in there and their mamas, their coaches, the scouters, everybody have seen them make these type of runs, jump this high. I mean, do all of these types of things, and then they turn into duds. The separator, Will, into the ones that do and the ones that don't is I would throw a little bit of hunger into it. Where are you at as a competitor? I think that somewhat plays a part in it. How you handle failures, too. That's one of the things I think happens to a lot of those types of guys when you're that fast or that strong or expected to be that good because, hey, I've been the best athlete on every team I've been on. Coaches, I think, lend themselves to that or actually put the players behind the 8 ball in situations like that because they only make them do certain things because in college, y'all know this too, you can get away with certain stuff by putting your speed guy on the field. Demps from Florida, right? Track guy, right?
Yeah, Jeff Demps.
You put him on the squad because there's only so many freshmen, sophomores that can catch him when he's a senior and as a track guy, like a specialist in those situations. I'll never forget this is one of my former teammates that went through a situation like this. Dree Archer from Kent State, or where was he? Toledo. Dree Archer ran a 4.26 also. Fast guy, playing out of the MAC. He was drafted in the 3rd round. So when I bring up the idea that people that are that fast, that skilled, somewhat don't know how to handle failure, I think that may have been one of his reasons why. I don't think he's ever been caught a day in his life in like the MAC. Like he had a big run against, if I'm not mistaken, Georgia or Florida or somebody like that. And he played against an SEC team and he dogged them out. He got to the NFL, man, and that 4.26 speed of his did not translate over. And I think it was a little bit of he had the yips as far as his ability to translate that over into, hey, you're not going to be the best guy or the fastest guy. You might be the fastest, but this guy who's been in the league for 4 years already understand angles and also understand the offensive tendency. Your failure isn't just because of you. It's somewhat because of the team, too. That's another thing. John Ross ended up going to Cincinnati, wasn't it, out of college? Went to somewhat an unstable team for a guy that needed to utilize himself the way he thought he should have been used too. So a lot of that plays a part into it. Your destination sometimes can determine if you fail to succeed in the NFL or in any kind of professional sports. You guys have seen that, especially in either basketball, how they quickly trade a guy out. Grant Williams just signed a massive deal with Dallas and got sent to Charlotte with half a season left. So that stuff matters to what type of team and coaching style you're a part of also.
Yeah, I mean, the NFL Combine has been going on for a long time now, and I think every year it's the same thing. I mean, we're all interested to see who runs the fastest 40 or, what you can do on the bench press, and I think that's just natural for people to get excited about that because it is fun to see these guys like at ultimate speed and even some of these linemen, like you were talking about splits, like even some of these linemen that are like hustling with how big they are. Sometimes that's the most fascinating thing to me, like these linemen being able to move and they're that big of people, they're that giant of people. But I think when it comes down to it, you have to be careful about just seeing what flashes at the combine. And we've seen coaches and teams in the past, yes, get burned by certain situations because they fall in love with the numbers that come out of the combine with a specific person. and it doesn't always pan out. And then sometimes you get the opposite, you guys, where you may have had a guy that is known for speed and maybe doesn't perform up to that and then goes on to have a great NFL career. So I don't put too much stock into just like the 40 times or anything like that at the combine. I think the overall, what they do, how they do in interviews, and then their overall performance is the most important thing when it comes down to the combine. Just, talking about a 40 or whatever like that, it's fun to talk about. It's exciting. It will make headlines, but that doesn't mean they're going to turn out to be the star you think they're going to be.
I will say I do personally somewhat still put a good bit of stock into it, though. I do, because it at least lets you know if when we sit down with him in meetings, that if his mindset and upbringing matches what his athletic ability is, then we might have something. And the other thing is, you don't know how good these guys have been prepped, but I do somewhat take into account their speeds, their times, their reps, and stuff like that. But you also, most coaches will tell you, look at the tape. The tape is always going to tell you, too.
Yeah.
615-737-1045 is our number. On this article posted by ESPN.com on Combine Stars and how they panned out, of course, Chris Johnson, ECU Pirate, is top of the list. Tennessee Titan, who ran a 4.24 in the 40 and had the 40-yard dash for nearly a decade. Had 6 straight 1,000-yard seasons, of course, with the Titans, including 2,006 yards in 2009, seventh most all-time for an individual season, with an NFL record 2,509 scrimmage yards that season as well. I'd say that one worked out well, certainly.
He did.
So for every John Ross, there is a Chris Johnson where the speed certainly does translate. Talking about big guys running, how about Dontari Poe?
Yep.
I imagine you played against him a time or two.
I did play against him a few times. Yeah, sure did.
346-pound defensive tackle from Memphis who had a performance deemed by Todd McShay as epic at the time. Ran the 40 in 4.98 at 346 pounds and had 44 reps on the bench press. 44.
You know what's even crazier about him, his backstory? They had to ask him in high school to come and play football. That wasn't even his main thing. He was in a band.
He was in the band?
He was a tuba player.
I was going to say, he's definitely a tuba player. There ain't nothing else that he's playing other than tuba.
No, big time, man. Wow. So that ought to let you know. I remember playing against him. It was the top 10 of Kansas City, if I'm not mistaken, also. Solid individual. Good fluid hips, man, for a guy his size. Could move side to side. Could get up the field. Was strong as an ox also. It was a battle definitely between us. I used to encourage him again. I used to tell him, with dudes he was quick in a phone booth, okay? You put him in a spot, just try to run down the middle of me in these situations. But here's the thing. If he tried to go around you, which he was capable of, then next thing you know, he's bull rushing you. So, when you bring up his name as far as his ability to use his strength and speed and size, I got to give it up to him. He did. He absolutely did. This is where it translated over. A guy coming out of Memphis, okay? A guy coming out of Memphis, from Memphis, probably was a 2-3 star coming out of high school, more than likely, to kind of turn himself into this. But I ain't gonna say, you look at guys like him, and you see the size, you see the reps, and it's like, man, you supposed to bench like that, though. You know what I'm saying? Like, he had the compact body to where his arms measured up perfectly with his body type, and he was just as strong as an ox type of dude. I'm not sure what got him out of the league, but 2-time Pro Bowler, he definitely hit. Kansas City hit on him, for sure. I don't think he got the second deal with them. He kind of moved around the league a little bit after Kansas City, but he answered the call for sure in the first couple of years.
2 Pro Bowl appearances across 9 seasons for Dontari Poe. And then last year, you had Andrew Voorhees, the USC tackle, who is now a Baltimore Raven, who with a torn ACL led offensive linemen in the bench press with a combine high of 38 reps on one knee last year.
I watched this live when he hurt himself, when he was doing those drills. And look, he was looking really good, too, at the combine. And then it shows it. Obviously, they're showing this stuff live, and a lot of times, you're going to have situations like this where guys are going to get hurt. And this was just, you could hear the air just kind of sucked out from down there, because they've got the coach down there and everything and all the players. And it was like, dang, this sucks, because he was, projected to go super high. And then for him to come back and do this, and I see this headline and I'm going, now that is somebody that you want on your team. Like, it sucks that he suffered that and that late, preparing for the draft. But just to know he was able to come back and do something like that and be willing to do it, I was like, that's the type of player I want.
That's one thing we hadn't brought up. Baltimore, as of late, have had 2 injured players come out of the combine. Bart, who was the DN with the Achilles a couple years back?
David Ajabo.
Yeah.
Oh.
Michigan guy.
Michigan, remember, he tore his.
That's
He was
right.
projected to be a high.
He would have probably been in the end of the first. He tore it at his pro day.
Tore his pro day, sure did. Yeah, him and now Baltimore has Voorhees. It's fast. It'll be fascinating to see how those 2 guys turn out, considering we've seen the Titans draft guys who were injured here also.
Big win for the players over the weekend on Friday as the salary cap was announced at a big number, up to $255 million for the NFL 2024 season. And T. Higgins, as we expected, will be franchise tagged in Cincinnati. The latest intel from Paul Dehner Jr. of the Cincinnati Bengals beat writer at The Athletic says that there are teams that, if they are interested in a tag and trade for T. Higgins, will go ahead and make their offers at this point, but says given the complexity of that path, trading team agrees to extension with T. Higgins and agree on trade compensation. He expects the most likely scenario is that T. Higgins plays this year on the franchise tag in Cincinnati. But he writes, the timing opens the door further for a tag and trade. And that is one of the deals that, if it's going to happen, the framework of it will likely begin this week in Indy.
Yeah,
Maybe over a shrimp cocktail at St. Elmo.
Right. Absolutely. That's business-wise, that make the most sense for Cincinnati. Like, you can't just let an asset like T. Higgins just leave your building like that just because he's at the end of his contract. No.
Yeah.
You either get something for him, and you also try to make sure that he's in a position where he can go to a team that is going to pay him also. He's hot right now. Is he wide receiver 1 in this cycle as far as free agents, potential free agents?
He's up there,
He's
I think.
up there for
He's
sure.
not a free agent, though, anymore.
Yeah.
Well,
But
as
when he
far as the
was.
ability to go to another team, he's a guy that's high up as far as that goes.
Say Justin Jefferson's number 1.
Justin Jefferson, well, as of last night, they're
Right.
talking about moving him.
Because
So
he wants Kirk Cousins back up there, and I don't think that's happening.
if I was
So-
him, I'd be concerned to just simply get the bag first. They'll figure out the
Right.
quarterback, but you're right. That makes sense for him.
With Joe Burrow, too, I just feel like there's been a lot of changes with the Cincy staff, obviously. They've lost a lot of guys. They've promoted a lot of guys, but that doesn't mean they're going to have success with what these other offensive coordinators and certain position player or coaches were having. So there's a lot of kind of newness there. And then you've got Tyler Boyd, who's a free agent. So I feel like they kind of need to bring a guy back like T. Higgins, because I get it. You have Jamar Chase, and he is the star for Joe Burrow. But I think it's nice when you get Joe Burrow back healthy. Like, here, you've got a couple of your options still. Hey, heck, they don't know if Joe Mixon's coming back.
Yeah, Joe's. I hate to demean the running back position like that, but they'll find another him. He's crucial for them.
But just the newness of this, some shuffling around for this team.
I would say this, though, as far as Joe Burrow goes, they still have their signal caller and Zach Taylor. That, to me, is probably good, which is why having an offensive head coach that can be that can or wants to be a head coach, a play caller too, works out better for a quarterback. Their base of their defense, of their offense should stay relatively the same.
Yeah, Zach Taylor calling plays means that Callahan they'll miss, obviously, but I don't know if there'll be a ton of change on that offense. The timing of the tag is what is interesting. And Paul Dehner Jr. wrote that in The Athletic over the weekend, saying the timing is what stands out. Clubs just received the franchise tag values on Friday afternoon. The massive spike in the cap raised T. Higgins' value to $21.8 million. So the moment they knew the amount to turn in, they turned it in, which gives them time to find a trade partner if they wanted to. Also gives them time to come up with a long-term deal for T. Higgins if they wanted to. But It's interesting that in The Athletic, you read, this confirms the Bengals haven't ever viewed a long-term contract with Higgins as a realistic option, given the contracts of Joe Burrow and the future extension with Jamar Chase. They understood it as the second they could do it, okay, tag T and move on with everything else we've got to do.
Yeah, pretty much. If you can get him for this 1 year, try to. Absolutely. But the price just went up. And not just with him, with a lot of people. The numbers that have come out in this free agent cycle, I think, will be higher for guys who are either backups or just like those 1 year deals. I was talking to a guy recently. He was just like, man, I'm hoping I get something more than 1 for $3, one for $3 million. And then next thing you know, those numbers came out on Friday. I was like, well, that 1 for $3 may have now turned into a 1 for $5. Like, those are the things that T. Higgins and his agent has to look forward to. And if you got a team that just got a bump the way they need it as far as signing free agents this offseason, it's very advantageous for people to be able to spend the way they want to, also being careful. Now, here's the thing again. You say they got $30+ million more than they thought they were going to get. But the other side of this, players recognize that. Management of your roster and all those types of things. And I'm sure it'll be some vets that's going to go to the front office and say, hey, I need a little bit of an extension too. That money is probably just as good as spent already when it comes down to free agency.
What is T. Higgins' trade value?
Straight out, as far as draft picks?
Yeah.
I think you got to get a 1.
You think?
1. For a guy like T, yeah. I'm asking for it. Whether they get it in negotiations, I don't know. I start at a 1.
It's interesting with him because I feel like he is viewed as a number 2 receiver.
You got him as a 2?
Well, I'm saying he's viewed as a number 2 receiver because he plays behind Jamar Chase, and in his current team, he is a number 1 receiver. Is T. Higgins good enough to be a high-end wide receiver 1 when he's not playing behind maybe the best receiver in the game right now?
Well, and he's got a heck of a quarterback, too, that's been thrown to him. So that's what's yet to be seen because we haven't been able to see that. So there is still that a little bit of improvement of possibly being a number 1 on your roster. Yeah. That's why I don't know if they would do a 1, but I would certainly say there's got to be a 2 in there as pick-wise.
At minimum a 2.
Yeah.
If I'm Cincinnati, I'm maxing for a 1 if a team has that. If you're closer to playing in a championship and he's the piece that can get you over the top, yeah, you try to make that. Or a team like Dallas. Dallas having the ability to go get him. I don't know if they're going to give up a 1. I start at a 1. Maybe you get a 2 or maybe you get 2 3s, whatever the case may be. But he's proven that, look, he can be healthy. He's going to get yards. And if you actually have a team that can pair him up with another wide receiver, whether he be number 1 or if he's on paper number 2, his production shows that he's good enough. It's not like he's a 6th-rounder turning into this. This is a former 2nd-rounder. This is a guy that has shown you he can make big catches. He can also play in big-time games, and he's been a big-time asset for Cincinnati. They have a whole lot of value in him, and he's already ready-made, and every aspect of his game has improved from the time he's come into the NFL.
Yeah, I think if you look at the A.J. Brown trade as a barometer for what T. Higgins would cost, the stats for A.J. Brown and T. Higgins at this point in their careers are not totally different. AJ is a little bit better, but he was coming off a season where he had 860 yards for the Titans in his last season here. T. Higgins coming off a year where he had 656, but he only played in 12 games in 2023. To me, I think T. Higgins is a 2nd and a 3rd. Just considering the thing about A.J. Brown was you knew he was a number 1 receiver, and he could get 1,000 yards going up against somebody's number 1 corner every single week. We don't yet know that about T. Higgins.
Another thing to remember with Cincinnati, the last player-for-player trade outside of a draft trade, something happening inside the draft, was in 2021. They don't make a lot of trades, and if they do, they want to feel like they're getting the upper hand. Very rarely do they trade guys and say, "Oh, we'll take something for him because we don't want to pay this guy." They traded one of their really bad offensive linemen for B.J. Hill. They always want to feel like they're getting an upside. Remember Billy Price, how bad that guy was, Ramon?
Billy Price, oh my God.
I covered him at Ohio State.
Center?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
cheeks.
Yep.
Traded
Is he
him
still
for
in the
B.J. Hill.
league? I
No,
don't
he's
even
not.
know.
He's garbage.
Oh.
615-737-1045. Coming up, why are so many coaches skipping the NFL Combine? Another coach over the weekend says, in the words of Magic Johnson, I ain't going to be there. We'll talk about it next.
When it comes to large home repairs, a lot of time we homeowners pretend we do not see the warning signs. We are afraid of what we're going to hear. This is especially true with waterproofing and foundation repair. It could be something big that needs to be fixed right away, or maybe a small problem now that'll become bigger later, or it could be nothing at all. Bottom line is we don't know, and we certainly don't want to be sold something we do not need. What we need is a peace of mind. The United Structural Systems is the company to give you that. They have over 25,000 100% satisfied residential customers, and here's how they make that happen. When USS comes out to your house, you're going to get a problem solver who provides a peace of mind to their customer. That's you, the homeowner. You're not going to get someone who's worried about meeting a sales quota, upselling the next big thing, but someone there to educate you and help you understand what is happening with your home. Homeowners trust USS. They've been keeping the homes dry and stable for over 25 years. USS, serving Middle Tennessee, Southern Kentucky, Western Kentucky, and Northern Alabama. You can reach them online at USSTN.com or call them 615-488-7855.
Monday morning in RKW is brewed by 8th and Roasted. Coming up in 15 minutes, we'll detail a couple of victories for Tennessee Vols fans over the weekend on the hardwood and in court. Great weekend to be a Vols fan. We'll talk about that coming up at 7 o'clock. 615-737-1045. Ramon Foster, Kayla Anderson, Will Bowling with you. So most NFL coaches will be in Indy this week at the NFL Combine, but a growing minority have now decided that it's not worth it. And according to the Green Bay Packers, Matt LaFleur will now join the list of coaches that will not attend this week's Combine in Indy. So you've got Sean McVay, Mike McCarthy, Robert Saleh, which could potentially change according to reports, and likely Kyle Shanahan as well, who has not given a decision publicly, yes or no, as the head coach is skipping the Combine. Why do you think this is a growing trend?
Why is it a growing trend? I almost feel like it's almost people had a conversation about millennials or Gen Z working. You know what I'm saying? Like some refuse. The overall landscape is like, okay, they're only going to work a job that pays them appropriately. Is this a situation where they're going to only go to events that are very advantageous for them to be at? Like, why should I be there when all of my scouts will be there? The GM could possibly be there, and I'm going to see all the tape from the times and get all the results anyway. Like, a lot of these coaches, I feel like, are trying to maximize as much time they have, or either just realize why go when I have all the information, like as much of a production that each event has turned into. Why should I have to go there and their pro day? Mm-hmm. You know?
There's so much more out there, too, technology-wise, for them to have access to everything they pretty much need out of those big events. Coach Mack, when he joined us after, I believe, the Senior Bowl, had mentioned, like, if Brian Callahan and Rand wanted to see any video, there is literally video from every single rep of these players that are at the Senior Bowl. So they can do their due diligence on the guys that they are really looking at by seeing the film. Now, nothing takes away or nothing compares, in my opinion, than to be somewhere and be able to see and talk with that prospect one-on-one. And I do think the Combine is important for certain coaches to be there for, things like the interview where you're really getting a feel for the character. Yes, you'll see what happens in it and you'll hear what happens in it. But for me as a coach, especially if it's a prime position I'm looking at, I do want to know what I'm getting, and I want to know what the reaction is one-on-one with that person.
Yeah.
One head coach told Mike Florio, Pro Football Talk, that the Combine is more valuable for coaches than the league meetings in late March, calling that gathering, quote, the biggest waste of time in a week full of propaganda. But the argument against going to the Combine is that workouts are filmed and head coaches can participate in prospect interviews virtually. Other coaches want to see and hear the prospects in person.
Praise.
Yeah, I would want to, too.
I still think that if the Titans had met Isaiah Wilson in person, surely they're not drafting that guy in the first round. Mm-hmm. If that conversation doesn't happen over Zoom. If you have the ability to meet with prospects in person, do it.
That's the same way which is why I said, like, the coaches have made it this way, too. So the fact that you got some running away from this idea, to me, somewhat stinks, because this is where it happens. Like, these prospects look forward to this, either running into you or just there's also times at night where the players go into a room and they can just be pulled by coaches on other teams. At least that's the way it was. I got pulled and sat down and ended up talking to a team that was interested in me on how to break down coverages. What did I see? Why would I slide this type of way? But, of course, when you build up the NFL or almost any other sport to where everything can be televised, everything can be sent right to your iPad or to your phone, this is the back end of it, too. We've had this conversation as players sometimes. Does the NFL give up too much access? Do y'all think it give up too much access as consumers of it?
I don't think so.
I think it's okay right now. Now, if it gets any further into, miking up players at every time of the day, that we can't have.
That's called podcasts now.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
and that's what the players, and look, that's on them then, right? That's them deciding, hey, we're going to give a little bit more of our lives, but at least they're they're deciding that. They're not having the league say, you have to do this.
Yeah, I don't like it, but I get it. Like I said, the coaches and the GMs is the ones that's created this world that we know to be the business of the combine too. But I can't blame a coach that got to come from San Francisco or L.A. all the way over. Green Bay's coach, I don't understand why he wouldn't show up, other than the fact that they may be more complete at their team than any of the others. I have no idea.
Yeah, that's interesting to me.
It's
too.
all the wonderkind, offensive mind, Shanahan tree coaches that aren't showing up.
You're right.
McVay, LaFleur, Shanahan potentially. Robert Saleh, who comes from Shanahan also as a defensive guy.
If I'm Robert Saleh, I'm there. Like, he's got work to do with that damn team.
Yes, he does.
I think the thing about having a first-year head coach and a second-year GM is that, as far as the Titans' perspective, they need every opportunity they can have to learn how to do the job.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's one thing if you've won a Super Bowl like Sean McVay has, you've been around the block like Mike McCarthy. Kyle Shanahan has maybe earned that right. First-year head coach, second-year GM, you need to be having as many conversations over shrimp cocktails as you can.
Yeah, for sure.
In Indy, and that's what's going to happen.
Do they recognize the combine as just pointless work, though? That's what I'd like to know. If you can get somebody like that on the phone, like, why would you not go? Is it pointless work for you to be there?
615-737-1045. It was a good weekend to be a Vols fan. We'll get the ramifications of Judge Clifton Corker's decision in Tennessee and Virginia against the NCAA and take a look at a big-time win for Tennessee hoops and a little bit of revenge for the students at Tennessee. That's next as Hour 2 begins on RKW.
Hey, it's Kayla Anderson for Weighing Vision Institute. And if you are thinking about going and getting your eyes checked, maybe it's been a while. I had waited years and years before I decided to check out Weighing Vision Institute and go through the whole process of getting my eyes checked out. And man, was it worth it. They do everything there so professionally, from the front desk to the doctors. They're going to make you feel like you know what's going to go on with your eyes, not only now, but in the future. They also are specializing in some stuff that has to do with your skin that will make your skin look good again. Intense pulse light treatments. If you don't know what that is, super simple. A photofacial treatment it really rejuvenates the skin. Maybe you've had that sun damage. The dark spots are appearing now that you're getting a little older. These treatments are awesome for evening out the skin tone as well as texture. And for more information on an IPL treatment and how you can do that, you can just visit weighingvisioninstitute.com today. Those IPL treatments, by the way, super simple. They go in, takes 20 to 30 minutes to perform, then you're out the door. They also, if you're going to check out their eye care health there, you can go online for a free online vision seminar. That is every Tuesday at 6:45 p.m. Just RSVP, schedule your free consultation and your treatment today at weighingvisioninstitute.com.
7:01. Good morning from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. I'm Robert Walsh. Happy Underwear Olympics Week. The Combine starts this week, and 104.5 The Zone will be well represented as Ramon Foster and Buck Rising make themselves familiar with some NFL draft prospects, mostly team meetings and medicals until Thursday workouts start with defensive linemen and linebackers. Two of the top quarterback prospects in the draft announced they will not be working out at the Combine this week. Caleb Williams and Jaden Daniels will be in Indy for meetings, but will wait for their individual pro days to work out for NFL teams. And in the NHL, Preds complete a 5-game road trip sweep for the first time in team history, beating Anaheim 4-2. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and the Vols. This is the 104.5 The Zone.
Seven a.m. in Nashville as we welcome you to a brand new week and to another phase of the NFL offseason. It is NFL Combine Week, and we have got all the coverage you need right here on Ramon, Kayla, and Will. We've got Ramon Foster in studio for one final time this week before he heads up to Indy to eat shrimp and talk about football. And pretty soon it'll be all out of shrimp. 615-737-1045. Ramon Foster, Kayla Anderson, Robert Walsh, our producer. I'm Will Bowling. Coming up at 8:20 this morning, Justin Melo of the Draft Network will discuss the Titans' priorities going into NFL Combine Week, where he falls on left tackle versus wide receiver for the Titans, as well as prospects who could help themselves this week at the NFL Combine. Should be good. Mm-hmm. Looking forward to that. You can stream the show live at 104.5 The Zone TV, Facebook Live, YouTube, Twitter, or Twitch.
Push, please.
And in 15 minutes, we'll take a look at Ramon's Combine experience and how much prospects can or can't help themselves this week with some help from our friend Sam Monson of PFF, who had some interesting things to say about the Titans' options at 7. He is optimistic about the amount of good players the Titans will have the ability to pick at number 7. But Ramon, couldn't be my team losing to the NCAA in court, could it?
Nah, could not. Could not, man. Everybody, I think, knew what the results of that was going to be. It was just, as a Vol fan, you have PTSD sometimes, and the NCAA has reigned supreme for so long, you just expect it, whether that be, the people that they know in power or whoever, that they were going to at least get some type of advantage this past weekend. And you know what? They got absolutely none.
Clifton Corker gives Tennessee a win in the injunction hearing against the NCAA, saying it is hereby ordered that effective immediately, defended NCAA, its servants, agents, and employees, and all persons in active concert or participation with the NCAA. I love the way judges can just make their word count be so much higher by just saying a bunch of fancy words. I should have used that in high school.
That's what they went to school for, right?
They are restrained and enjoined from enforcing the NCAA interim NIL policy, the NCAA bylaws, or any other authority to the extent such authority, prohibits student-athletes from negotiating compensation for NIL with any third-party entity. Essentially, the NCAA's NIL policy is over. The next step is, we'll see, but the NCAA could appeal this decision. I think we all expect Tennessee has its win, and the NCAA will now leave them alone.
Yeah, and that's what it said. It said the investigation into Tennessee stops. That's about as far as a dub that the NCAA's ever had to process something and get an answer, because they take years and with the way they've always just kind of done stuff. But it makes sense when you look at it. If you tell us that you guys can do NIL, but we can't talk about NIL to prospects as far as where they go and what type of business they're capable of and whichever city they decide to go to, then that's absolutely wrong. How are you going to tell me I can do something but also deny me on something else? You know, like, yes, you have NIL. Well, I negotiated my NIL, just so happened to go to the University of Tennessee or Virginia, wherever the case may have been. And then the next thing you tell me is not okay? That's silly. That's dumb on the NCAA's part as far as trying to regulate this. I was talking to some of my friends this weekend. We spoke about the same thing. Like, they had opportunities for years to get this correct. Like, they could have possibly gotten us, as far as players, for extra $500 a month or something. They could have got us for that, as far as just saying, hey, you guys deserve a piece of the pie. We've earned millions on the backs of you guys for free, air quotation marks. I know a lot of people are upset and say, well, you get the scholarship. I'm here to tell you that scholarship can mean absolutely nothing by the time that you're done. You get no work experience. You get no ability to go get an internship anywhere. And then, of course, with the allotment of scholarships, degrees that are available during practice time, that's another conversation to be had. Sociology, y'all know which ones they are. Sociology, psychology,
communication studies,
sports
management,
phys ed, education. Not education. Heck, I don't even think we get the ability to do education. You have no engineers come out of it. You have nobody that can absolutely advance themselves as far as being a finance major, being a BA. Like, you get none of those things. You got 5 to 7 degrees that you can get in college. And you mean to tell me that's worth it when in all actuality, you're there to play football? Well, if I'm here to play football and we're filling up these stadiums, I don't care if it is a smaller school. You still are affording the university to operate because of the money you bring in, and we get nothing? They could have got us for $500. And now, NCAA, look where it's at now.
This, to me, proves that the future of the NCAA, at least when it comes to football, is in question. And I know when we had Joshua Perry on a couple of weeks ago, he specifically pointed out an option of, possibly the college football going off on its own in dealing with kind of the things they're going to deal with on their own, with having some sort of an overall commissioner of college football that's separate from the NCAA and some of these other sports. And honestly, at this point, I don't know if that's a bad idea, because what the NCAA is now showing is they aren't strong enough to win these types of cases, and they can't continue to sit here and nitpick at things in terms of the sport that brings in the most revenue, which is college football. So I'm going to be interested to see how long the NCAA can hold on to having its power, at least in terms of college football.
Yeah.
Tennessee 86, Texas A&M 51 over the weekend. A couple of weeks ago when A&M beat Tennessee in Reed Arena, their students chanted overrated. On Saturday, Tennessee's students were chanting NIT. This game was 24-24 with 4:36 left in the first half. Tennessee then outscored A&M 62-27 en route to a 35-point advantage. The biggest difference, though, was the rebounding battle. Tennessee's players out-rebounded Texas A&M 50-33 on the boards, including a fantastic night again from Jonas Adu, who had 18 points and 14 rebounds on 9 of 14 shooting, his 8th double-double of the season. Zakai Ziegler had 9 rebounds and nearly had one of the craziest triple-doubles you will ever see. He had 9 points, 9 boards, and 14 assists with 0 turnovers, 4 steals in 35 minutes. Zakai Ziegler's plus-minus, guys, when he was on the floor, plus 35. That is about as good as it gets. And there are about 3 players that we could spend time on for Tennessee as taking over and just putting the team on their back on Saturday. And all of them would be legitimate player of the game level contenders.
And I'm hot as Zakai, too.
Yeah.
He had the ability to get at least a double-double. How many layups did he miss? He had one on the fast break. I was like, come on, God. But he's playing lights out, man. You can tell the teams that try to bully him a little bit, and the Joker just continues to go and float, man. Team MVP probably at this point, Dalton Connect, of course. But Jonas Adu.
He's been awesome.
Talk about a grinder. Talk about a guy that's taking a step to being a pro. What year is this for him? His junior year for Jonas?
Jonas, yep.
Yeah.
Junior year. That again, I got to give credit to Ron Slell Nelson. He always says the junior year is the year we look at. This is the step that he's taken, the adjustments, the growth that he's had, strength, and just understanding the game, man. This Joker has really turned into, I keep saying Joker this morning. This Joker has really turned into a player and a big-time asset for the Vols, man. His ability to just finish around the rim where Zakai can just toss him up, and they just go and play ball at extra tips that he get as far as rebounds too. It's fun watching him grow as a player from where he was. It's just been a goofball, if we can be honest, like the last couple of years. Not a goofball, but he's more social media as far as his game goes. But to actually be a ball player now, to me, man, is big for the Vols.
Yeah, holding this A&M team to just, the percentages that they were shooting, if 3 points, like 20.6%. Field goal, they were 27.3% A&M for the game.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that is bad. And to see what Tennessee was able to do dominant-wise in that situation where they already were beat by a team like Texas A&M early in the season, A&M has gone on a slide ever since then. So for them to not only beat them in their place, but to beat them like that and to make them look like they're not even a bubble team now because they're the first four out in Lenardi's bracket. That is taking care of business at the right time. And I think you mentioned Adu, which I think is huge coming up this time of year. He's starting to get in a consistent groove, right?
Yeah.
We'd seen those highlights from him before, but how consistent could he be as a big man in that position? He's doing that. And then you're seeing Awaka. He's coming off the bench with 12. Like, I feel like they not only have their 6, but they've got a few other guys at any point they can bring in and continue to be stabilized in that situation. I just think it sets up so well for tournament time if they can continue that.
615-737-1045. How much can prospects help or hurt themselves this week at the NFL Combine? What is the value of the Combine from our perspective and from the former player's perspective? We'll talk about it next. Spring is right around the corner. Are you looking to check some items off your home to-do list? What's going on? It's Will Bowling here from my friends at League Company. Of course, you are looking to check some items off that to-do list, or maybe you're looking to freshen up your home's look before hosting friends and family as the weather warms over the coming months. Well, available 24/7, 365, the League Company home improvement professionals have you covered. From pressure washing your driveway or deck, maybe it's drywall repairs, landscape lighting, painting, and more, League Company is all you need. They are your one-stop shop to make sure your home is ready to host more company when the weather warms up. Maybe it's an outside area that you've thought, yeah, we'll get to that once we are actually warm enough to go outside in that part of the house. League Company, they're going to help you out. Pressure washing, drywall repairs, landscape lighting, painting, and more. Remember this phone number, 615-567-1000. Their website is great as well. You can schedule an appointment at leaguecompany.com. That's leaguecompany.com for all your home improvement needs this summer. 615-567-1000. That's League Company, all you need. Monday morning at RKW is brewed by 8th and Roast, and this morning we have got a great blend of 8th and Roast coffee going. You can go pick up a fresh cup, grab yourself a breakfast sandwich, maybe bacon, egg, and cheese on a croissant. Sausage, egg, and cheese on a croissant is the one I always get there at 8th and Roast.
Nicely done.
Outstanding choice on 8th Avenue, Charlotte, the Broadview at Vanderbilt, or the airport.
I'm really disappointed in you, Ramon.
What's up?
You had the opportunity to say when he said we have a new 8th and Roast flavor. You could have said I love it, but you didn't.
I love it. God, I was too busy over here looking at something in
You're
the chat,
supposed to be better
man.
than this.
I am. You're right. Focus, Mo.
We've got the Sunflower Express blend this morning, which is an espresso blend. It's very, very good.
It is.
Very good. What's it like? Toasted almond, I think is the note we
Toasted
have.
almond, syrupy, cocoa, and hints of cherry. It's fire. I'll be honest. I was a little nervous when it said it was espresso blend because espresso ground's supposed to go in espresso, of course. But this one is good. It's real good. Real good.
You know it's good when Ramon sounds like he needs oxygen.
When I'm whispering.
It's good.
You know,
You're barely adopted the darkness.
I was born.
I was born in it.
It's too good.
That's Bane, for those of you unfamiliar from The Dark Knight Rises. 615-737-1045 is our number. It's streaming live on 1045 The Zone TV. How much can prospects help or hurt themselves this week at the NFL Combine?
How can they help themselves?
How much of their potential in the league is already determined? And now this moves you up a couple of picks in either direction. In today's NFL, when you have the Senior Bowl that has such great access and is growing, and you've got the best Senior Bowl roster ever. You've got the East-West Shrine Bowl. You have all these all-star games that allows players to meet with coaches. What is the value of the Combine in 2024?
I think it's two different versions of the Combine. I think it's your bona fide first rounders, probably a top 15, top 20, and then it's everybody else positioning from there. That's where those numbers as far as testing and evaluation comes into play. For instance, either people that come from like smaller schools, right? They have the ability to test up. Toledo's cornerback that's in
John Mitchell.
Yeah, so a guy like him, right, can test up and make himself a higher draft pick. Jackson Powers Johnson is another, the center out of Oregon. He's a guy that can test up. But we're talking about Malik Neighbors. We're talking about Caleb Williams. We're talking about those types of guys. Oh, they're fine. They're going to be all right. Joe Alt, he's fine. No matter what happens this weekend. Olu Fashanu, he's fine this weekend. So there's always two sides of it. The first round guys, they're going to be all right. But everybody else has the ability to test up. And that's where having the ability, well, teams have these templates where if you're this position, you're supposed to run this fast, be this size, arm lengths look like this, broad jump 40, all of that does play into account the way they go into it. The only thing I hate about this week, these next couple of weeks, is this is where the tape is minimized. I think listening to people talk about Tom Brady or other guys that just happen to be, Brock Purdy's another recent one, right? That they probably don't test well, they probably don't look good, they probably don't fit your template, your mold into what a player's supposed to be, but their tape justifies their justification into the league, right? Their tape shows what they're capable of if you put them in situations like this. So let's go into where it can hurt a player. Like I said, with how they judge each position. For offensive linemen, for sure, it's going to be weight. If we're the same, DeJuan Jones last year, right? A big guy like him. This year for the draft, the D-tackle, Tavondre Sweat. He didn't weigh in at the Senior Bowl. What is that going to look like for the bigs? It's always going to be that. And then, of course, for the position players, wide receivers and DBs, it's weight too. How small or light are those types of guys? That plays into effect. John Ross may have been a featherweight when it comes down to his weight and stuff like that. How durable? Oh, remember last year, Jalen Hyatt, right? He was too small is what they were saying. He's supposed to be faster because of he wasn't that heavy, so he should have been faster, right? Those were the conversations that have to be had. And, of course, when you start really breaking it down, arm length, Peter Skoronski. This time of the year is where they knock you for almost every single thing. So I think you go to the combine to figure out how much can I justify my worth because of my measurables. And here's the messed up thing about it. You can't stretch your arms out. You can't stretch your height out. Although I do have this former teammate, very funny story. Jonathan Heffney, played for the Vols.
Yeah,
DB,
safety, number 32.
Rock Hill, South Carolina. At the pro day at Tennessee, man. We had this back stretching machine in the weight room. He laid down on this stretch machine and got like another quarter inch to half an inch. He legitimately stretched himself out. Yes, he did. And measured just slightly higher than what his listed height was. So this is where it can hurt you. Me, myself, I will be the first one. I had a horrible combine. I did. Absolutely. But I knew certain things had to go my way. Of course, catching the nosebleed did not help whatsoever. But here's the other thing. Benching has never been my thing. I ended up getting 20 reps officially at the combine. I thought I got one more, but I didn't. 20 reps at the combine. So as far as like offensive line templates, right? 25 is the threshold. If you're playing tackle, when I'm speaking about what they want as far as athletes, right? A tackle's supposed to be faster than like a 5'2". 5'1". You love to see one that's teetering 5 flat. Those are the things you look for. I was a college tackle coming out and I ran a 5'5". Okay, you're a guard. NFL speed won't translate for you on the edge as far as NFL defensive ends. This is where you can hurt yourself in moments like the combine. But, of course, like I said, this is where the tape, this is where scouts have to go into it. But as far as figuring out what your measurements are, what you're capable of, where you stack up against other guys, are you moving up and are you moving down? This right here can help or hurt you. I've seen guys come out. Zach Fulton's brother came out with me also. He was from Illinois. He ran, if I'm not mistaken, like a 4.8 at tackle. His draft stock skyrocketed because of his speed. You expect him to be able to play. And I think he lasts like maybe 4, 5, 6 years in the league and stuff like that. That type of stuff that matters. I'll never forget, the biggest conversation I had was as far as the combine and my times and measurables was, we ain't know if we can play you at a tackle because of your 40 speed. Like, those are the things that happen in a week like this. Peter Skoronski got knocked because of his arm length, right? And then, of course, you got to go through all the medical, too. Like, I'm really worried about Washington quarterback Michael Penix Jr. If he shows up, he needs to go early because he's going to have to get both shoulders, both knees, ankles, and everything. And I'll be shocked if the storyline doesn't come out this week as far as how much medical Michael Penix Jr. has. And every team's going to want to meet with him. They're going to pull and prod on him and all types of things.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. If it comes down to certain specifics with players that are at the combine, it can definitely knock you down a little in terms of your draft stock. And it can also boost you up, even if it is just a couple of spots in the draft. Let's use Anthony Richardson as an example. Look, it's not like he had a ton on film. And some of the stuff he had on film was really good. If you're looking at specific games from Anthony Richardson the year he got drafted. But when he went out there and he was throwing and he was showing, his skills, even compared to some of the other quarterbacks that were out there that day, everybody was like, wow. And I think that really did help his draft stock last year, going to the combine, kind of doing the freakish things he does. Because I'll be the first to admit, I was a little surprised he went that early because there was still a lot of unknowns. And heck, guys, there's still some unknowns with him because he's got to learn to be able to keep his body healthy and still be the quarterback he wants to be at the pro level.
No doubt. I could go this entire offseason cycle, draft cycle, without saying that cross-body throw down the field, too. If we can just dead that, okay? Every quarterback we've seen throw that cross-body pass down the field, I don't know how good they've done. Was it Trey Lance, first one to do it? And I'm just like, all right, yeah, we can end that right now. Okay, that's just for show. Ain't no pressure on you, nothing like that. Great display of arm strength, but I'm going to pass on that one.
You've also got Caleb Williams and Jaden Daniels, who are among those who will not throw at the combine and simply throw at their pro days, which I think is interesting. For Caleb Williams, I think it makes sense considering he knows, look, I'm the number 1 overall pick, and all I can do is lose value at this point.
I think Jaden Daniels should go. If that's my personal opinion.
Yeah.
I think Jaden Daniels still, unless he knows for sure, like, I'm that number 2 quarterback. And you know what? The confidence, if that's what he has and he thinks he's going to go, number 2 and his agents are telling him that and teams are having interest in him, okay, that's fine. But I think the throwing at the combine, I like to see it. And I like to see it because they don't get to pick who their wide receivers are, right? Mm-hmm. Those are wide receivers that they didn't play with. And I think sometimes it shows vulnerability to the quarterback because, look, they don't have a time to just connect with these guys as they do at the pro day, where they're picking who they want to throw to at their pro days. So I think it's one of those things that I'd like to see a lot of the quarterbacks throw, just to put that in that uncomfortable position.
Yeah.
But I can understand everybody has their reasons. I know the 40 is something that last year C.J. Stroud did not do, and I was okay with that. He threw.
Yeah. Okay.
But I didn't mind him not doing the 40 because that, to me, you can get injured. There's a lot more that can go into that with the hammy pulls and all that.
Yeah, for sure.
If you wanted to know what it looked like when Ramon Foster was going through the NFL Combine, we posted a picture of this at Ramon Kayla Will. I have done deep scrubbing of the internet to find a young Ramon Foster in the year 2009 going through the NFL Combine process. Yeah. You look good.
Hey, man, the
see.
thin chin strap going on and everything. You want it?
We tweeted it out a few minutes ago at Ramon
there
Kayla
it
Will.
is.
I had a buddy of mine text me and say, "Stop capping. You hated the combine the same way I did too, man."
You got your short hair.
Short
Yeah.
hair. Oh man,
You're more aerodynamic that way.
Yeah.
I was. That's what I thought until my 40 time.
5'7".
Exactly.
It's all right.
Exactly. Watch my tape. That's all I was saying. Watch my tape, man.
You guys had so with the shorts, because I'm looking at this just for you guys that are listening. You've got kind of like the baggy shorts.
Hey.
So can you just tell me, was it different a little bit outfit wise back then, or?
Oh heck yeah. We were still in the baggy era.
Y'all
What
are
you
wearing capris
talking about?
for shorts.
But here's the thing. We were so glad. By the way, Under Armour outfitted up the entire combine. Why would you hand out shorts with no like pockets? I absolutely hated their shorts that they gave to. And I guess if you're working out, you don't deserve it. But I continue to wear my stuff. I recently got rid of my combine stuff, I think like last summer.
You did.
I did.
Where
I did.
Did you put it on eBay?
No, I did not. It's probably a Goodwill somewhere. I may have kept a sweatshirt or something like that. But it was so cool to get all the gear because, of course, you go to all that stuff to get the gear. There was a Nike suite there. There was almost every single big brand that was there. So get in that big bag. You had to wear the stuff. And, yes, it was baggy. We didn't have, the hoochie daddies back then. All right? It just is what it is. This is talking about 2009,
Different.
y'all. A little bit different.
Yeah.
A little bit different.
For those who are unfamiliar, that is what society knows short shorts as for men. Back then, if your knees were
Hey,
showing,
y'all stop saying back then, okay? It ain't that far.
no, it was for me too. Like I'm saying,
I'm playing.
in school, like if your knees were showing on your shorts, then you were not cool
You were not.
Yeah.
You weren't.
at all.
At all, man. The bigger the shirt, the cooler you wore at times. It was times I was probably legitimately wearing like a 3X tall tee, and we were buying 6Xs just because it was the baggy era.
Yeah, it was. It was a style.
PFF Sam Monson talked with us on Friday, and interesting the amount of options he sees the Titans having at number 7. When you talk about the big name prospects going into the NFL Combine this week, the Titans had the luxury of going shopping for some of the biggest names you are going to see and hear from this week in Indy. This was Sam Monson with us Friday.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a really fascinating draft class. I think at number 7, the Titans are really well positioned to grab an absolute superstar. I'm really curious to see what those tackles look like during the week. Joe Alt, I think, is emerging as the kind of consensus number 1 guy, the Notre Dame tackle. Huge, strong, powerful, got all the tools that you want. And then Olu Fashanu, the Penn State tackle, people seem to be souring on him a little bit. He, I think, has the best pass protecting ability I've seen of any tackle in years come into the NFL. Like, we're putting him up in the category of, Tyron Smith when he was coming out. Guys like that, his footwork, his movement skills are so insane. And okay, maybe he's not as good a run blocker as some of these other guys, but in a passing league, I'm not sure how much you should care about that. And even if it's something that's permanent as opposed to something we can fix. So I think those tackles are going to be really interesting to watch. The wide receiver group is fantastic as well. And then obviously it's going to be interesting to see the Brock Bowers, the tight end from Georgia, who is a smaller guy, not, relative to normal size humans, but you watch him stand next to a guy like Gronk at the Super Bowl, and he's not really NFL tight end sized, but neither are a lot of guys that are just really elite playmakers at this level, just receivers.
Question I have then when I hear Sam Monson talk about Olu Fashanu maybe being the best pass protector that has come out in years, can he help himself more just simply showcasing that athletic ability this week and make himself also a top 10 prospect?
For him versus Joe Alt, that's a separator to me. I think Joe Alt's like a number one at your favorite restaurant, right?
Yeah.
You know what you're going to get with that one. Like, yeah, let me get the number one. I know what this is. Every place I'm going to go. The thing about Fashanu to me is he's a guy that can propel and probably have people talking more, because if he goes jump a 36, you know what I'm saying, inch vertical, if he runs a 4.8 or something similar to that, if his arms are long, then like you can start to compare 1 versus 2 in these situations. And yes, that's where, to me, hearing Sam talk about how you feel about him, Tyron Smith. Like, that's a strong comparison right there for a guy that's been as consistent that he has for the Dallas Cowboys, now a free agent on top of that. He could go into that tier to where whether which style you like, which is what we heard Greg Cosell say the other day. If you want a bruiser and it proves that he has explosion, has speed, has the arm length, then you might take a Fashanu over a Joe Alt, depending on what style of offense you want to play. I almost feel like Fashanu may fit the build of what the Chargers and Harbaugh is going to do out there, right? Because Big Ten ball is essentially what they're going to play. Depends on what you're looking for. But yes, this type of week can be huge for a guy like him when it comes down to measurables, time, speed, height, weight, and all that type of stuff.
615-737-1045. Coming up, I hope you bet the over on Kentucky and Alabama over the weekend, as big of an over as there's been in SEC hoops. We'll take a look at Bama just absolutely getting crushed, allowing Tennessee to go to the top of the SEC in college hoops when we come back on Ramon, Kayla, and Will.
It's a big Saturday night in Smashville as the Preds continue a 5-game homestand. On Saturday, March 2nd, see the Preds take on the Colorado Avalanche at 5 p.m. at Bridgestone Arena. And join the Press for Kids Day, too. Bring the whole family out while you at it. With the first 2,500 kids receiving custom Preds shoe charms, you can get tickets for the game at NashvillePredators.com/tickets. So never miss any game with secure season tickets, which just went on sale for the 24-25 season. This year, the Press are giving you a jersey with your ticket purchase, plus a ton of other great benefits. So lock in those seats as a Nashville Predator at NashvillePredators.com/season tickets.
Wrapping up the first half of the show on Ramon, Kayla, and Will. RKW is brewed by 8th and Roast at Ramon, Kayla, Will on Twitter, where Devin writes in responding to a picture of Ramon Foster at the NFL Combine with a simple statement, 5 too slow.
I wonder what happened to that job that what happened to that guy that made that statement? Where is he?
5 too slow.
What is he doing these
there he
days?
What is he doing these days?
That is, of course, his former Titans GM, John Robinson.
Yeah. One of us kept our job for over 2 years.
All right.
The other did not. Maybe if he'd have scouted me correctly, then it could have been a better outcome for him and types of players like myself. I love talking trash. I don't think y'all understand this, okay? So if you get me started with a little slight, I might go too far. I'm just saying. Might have been 5 too slow, but I employed.
Exactly.
Is that okay? That's fine. He's getting mailbox
Well,
money.
it's facts.
He's getting mailbox money for fella.
That's
that's
fun.
cool.
I mean,
Well,
I hope
that's
that
him
makes
or
you feel
somebody
important.
else. I mean, it is what it
Mailbox
is. you
money.
know. It's all good. A mailbox money. I'm taking that every day. Okay,
It's the American dream.
it's the American dream.
Being
though.
a fired football coach is my
I
dream
guess.
job.
Man, straight up. Imagine actually winning from failing. You know what I'm saying?
Damn, I don't want that on my title.
I'd take it tomorrow.
Not me.
I'm just saying, if I can be one of those, Matt Rule. Whew,
He's got a job though.
I mean, but he still got a big bag from
Sure.
Tepper.
He's
talking
back
about-
in business.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he did.
Kentucky 117, Alabama 95 in Rupp Arena over the weekend. Second most points Kentucky has ever scored in an SEC game at Rupp Arena behind the 127 UK put up against LSU in 1995. This one was close midway through the first half, and kind of like Tennessee and Texas A&M, Kentucky just absolutely put the pedal to the metal, and Alabama just doesn't play defense. Neither really does Kentucky, but 117-95. I don't really watch the NBA, and I felt like I was in this game.
As far as that goes, I mean, Kentucky was just so much better, though. I mean, just looking at them just run them up and down the court was absolutely amazing to see. I got my Kentucky buddies hitting me up talking about some, you should thank us. I'm like, all right, that's cool or whatever, all right, but the enemy of my enemy is my friend. So I guess we are in the same boat as Kentucky fans this morning, man. But with that being said, you know they got the talent. Kentucky does. You know they do. You question the coach at times, but then you see those guys' talent come to the forefront to where they can just run a good coach team at times, like Alabama out the gym. They went inside, they went outside on them, and just simply outskilled Alabama this past weekend in a game that they needed. Of course, you understand there's repercussions of them losing that game the way they did, but the other side of that too is Cal had to show improve. At some point, those lottery picks of his have to start producing, whether that be his coaching style or whether that be those players maximizing their potential while they're at Kentucky for the 6 months that they're going to be there. This is huge for Kyle. I thought that was a big-time win for him considering the skid that they had down with the 3-game losing streak at Rupp Arena. Rupp Arena. Rupp Arena. I don't know why I keep calling it Rupp Arena.
They had to show out, and they need to continue to show out. Look, there is, like you said, tons of talent on this team. There is every year. We all know that. They've got a lot of guys that come here. They play a little college basketball. They go on. They have success at the next level. And look, Coach Cal can tip his hat at that. Absolutely. But the one thing that I still question about Kentucky moving forward in this new era of the transfer portal and all the stuff that comes along with it. Remember the Final Four teams last year, folks. Something different than we've usually seen in the past with Blue Bloods being the dominant force. And I just wonder with Cal and this team moving forward, if you cannot get past those first round, the second round, without being upset, as a Blue Blood like you are, you're expected to get there. Kentucky fans expect them to win a championship. How long does this continue before you get so frustrated with it? You're like, we got to have a change. But then again, we know Coach Cal's a good coach, but they have this youth coming in every year, then leaving, then coming in every year and leaving. A lot of these teams now that you're seeing that are built for tournament time, they've got those older transfer players maybe. They've got some guys that have stuck around. And I think that becomes huge in tournament play. And maybe they surprise me this year and they win it all, right?
Right.
I just still, to me, I'm in a prove it mode with Kentucky at this point with how college basketball has changed a little bit with the transfer portal.
What also happened this past weekend is Kentucky shot 54% from 3 too.
Exactly. It's huge.
Now, can they do that week in and week out? Dillingham is I can't get over that young fella. He's solid. Rob Dillingham, solid. And he's just coming off the bench and giving them a little bit.
Justin Edwards finished with 28 points, just 2 shy of the 30 John Calipari said he'd score at some point this season. His career high was 17. Scored 7 in quick succession to begin the second half, getting to 24, finished with 28, like we said. Was 10 for 10 from the floor. Justin Edwards against Alabama over the weekend. That is still a team in Kentucky that has the best road win of anybody in the SEC this year in ending Auburn's home win streak at Neville Arena. That win and South Carolina's win in Knoxville, the 2 best wins in college basketball in the SEC in men's hoops this year. But that is a team I want no part of in March. As talented as they are, as deep as they are, to have the depth they have coming off the bench, I think they are going to start peaking at the right time, despite the loss to LSU in the midweek last week. Other SEC scores: South Carolina over Ole Miss 72-59. Florida handles Vandy in Gainesville 77-64, setting up a massive week after Auburn's 97-76 win over Georgia Wednesday night in Thompson Bowling Arena at 6 o'clock Central, right here on the Zone. Tennessee and Auburn.
Yeah, for sure. That's going to be a good one. You going up for it, you think?
I will be here at CONCACAF Champions Cup at Geodis Park as Nashville takes on Mocha FC.
Would love to make that one. Of course, Bruce always goes back and put on the show, too.
If Nashville SC wasn't playing Wednesday night, I would 100% make that trip and then drive back to do the show Thursday morning.
That was one of the ones
I was going to.
You were? Yeah, that was one of the ones you like to see in person, for sure.
615-737-1045. When we come back, NFL.com lists 5 stars who could get traded this offseason. It's a who's who of wide receivers. How many of them, or should any of them, be on the Tennessee Titans radar? We'll talk about it next.
Hey, it's Kayla Anderson with QC Kinetics. You know, this time of the year, it's about enjoying life, and stop letting that pain in your joints keep you from doing what you want to do this spring. Call QC Kinetics now. QC Kinetics is the nation's leader in regenerative medicine, and I'm talking about lasting joint pain relief with no surgery, no drugs, and no downtime. It is a fact. QC Kinetics is literally transforming lives. Their advanced treatments harness your own body's ability to restore and repair that damaged tissue. And QC Kinetics has tens of thousands of satisfied patients who have reclaimed their mobility. Take action now and live your best life this spring and summer. And it is a great use of your tax refund check, by the way. So call QC Kinetics now for a free consultation. 615-249-4024. It's QC Kinetics at 615-249-4024.
7:58. Good morning from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. I'm Robert Walsh. Happy Underwear Olympics week as the combine starts, and 104.5 The Zone will be well represented as Ramon Foster and Buck Rising make themselves familiar with some NFL draft prospects, mostly team meetings and medicals, until Thursday workouts start with defensive linemen and linebackers. Two of the top quarterback prospects announced they would not be working out at the combine this week. Caleb Williams and Jaden Daniels will be in Indy for meetings, but will wait until their individual pro days to work out for NFL teams. And in the NHL, Preds complete a 5-game road trip sweep for the first time in team history, beating Anaheim 4-2. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Second half of the show, hour number 3 starts right now on Ramon, Kayla, and Will. RKW is brewed by 8th and Rose. We've got the Sunflower Express blend going this morning. It is some of the best coffee that I have had, and it will be the best coffee you have had when you go pick it up at 8th and Rose. 8th Avenue, Charlotte, the airport, the Broadview at Vanderbilt. 8th and Rose Coffee cultivates community by the cup, and you can find your favorite retail bag in every local Kroger and Whole Foods as well. Coming up in 20 minutes, Justin Melo of the Draft Network joins us. He is as plugged in to talking with prospects and players competing at the NFL Combine as anyone. He'll give us the latest on what he thinks the Titans are leaning towards going into the NFL Draft and players who he is watching to help or hurt themselves this week. With Ramon Foster, Kayla Anderson, Robert Walsh, our producer, I'm Will Bowling. Streaming live on 104.5 The Zone TV, Facebook Live, YouTube, Twitter, or Twitch.
Twitch, please.
It is beautiful outside for those of you who have not yet gone outdoors this morning.
Yeah, I know. It's awesome. I'm looking back at Burt. Like, Burt ain't even got no competition this morning for the Twitch, please.
Man, Mondays,
8:00.
I'm running around back here with my head cut off, man. I got too much going on.
I feel you. I was just staring, eyeing them real quick, but you're right, Will. It's a beautiful day outside. I think Rhett Bryant told us it's supposed to heat index like 77 or something today. Short sleeves.
72 degrees in beautiful Music City, USA.
I don't know about y'all, but my
Take it.
grass is back growing. Is y'all's grass growing?
Not just yet. What I have seen, though, is budding trees already. Have you seen that? Little green buds on the end
Yeah,
of trees? They're being tricked already.
I'm okay with that. It's so weird when it gets bare here. Like, I live in a lot of wooded kind of areas around me, and when those leaves fall and it just feels barren.
Yeah, of course.
Like, I'm like, bring back the flowers and the leaves and stuff. So,
I'll be here soon.
what's his name?
Punxsutawney
Phil he's been right so far this year.
Correct. A bunch of my Northeastern people that I follow and talk to is like, of course, they don't have a February winter anymore. They're sad about that. Like, Western PA doesn't get as much snow as it used to and everything, so they're a little bit sad about that.
sad
Had a
about
house
that?
fly in the house this weekend, too.
Yeah, what?
Ew.
A house fly, just
I
out
thought
of
you said
nowhere.
house fire.
No.
That was going to elicit a very different response.
That's different, Will. Come on.
Like, how long have we gone without you telling us
I
about
know,
it?
that's
Goodness.
what I'm saying,
House
man.
fire,
But,
what?
that and Ladybugs came out this weekend
Yeah,
for
seen
sure.
one of those
Yeah.
recently.
Those are supposed to be good luck. Seeing a ladybug.
They
That
do-
is the state bug.
Is
Oh,
it?
it is?
Mm-hmm.
I did not know that. They do bite, by the way.
What?
Yeah,
Ladybug, yeah, they
absolutely
do.
do.
They bite you.
Ladybugs
Absolutely.
don't bite.
Yes,
They
they
do.
do.
100%.
You don't
they
feel
do.
that.
Yeah,
Yes,
you
you do.
Oh.
In the
oh,
world is that a thing?
Yes.
absolutely. Well, ladybugs will bite you,
I've had
man.
'em
They
bite
sit on
me.
you. Yeah, they'll nip at you a little bit. Get you some.
I mean, it's not a bee sting, but it's not. You can't feel
Yeah,
it.
they'll nip at you a little bit. Will you didn't know this?
Man, I've been picking up ladybug. I've eaten
That's what I'm
ladybugs,
saying.
and I ain't never been bit by. Now I looked it up. You
Really?
can be bitten by a ladybug, but it does not say that they do it very often.
No.
they-
I feel like that's
I've
one of
been
those
bitten
things
by
that's
Y'all
like,
are getting bit by
devil's in the
ladybugs.
detail. No,
I swear to
Kayla,
you,
I
I
get
did.
it. No, What I'm saying is this. The devil's in the detail. We didn't say how often they bite you, but they do bite. So
maybe if you're special.
Playing this game, I ain't going to call it special. I hate being bitten by anything except for Keisha.
That's true. Like, Lord.
What is wrong with you?
Did you capture
Monday.
that?
What on earth?
Did you replay
I'm going to have
that?
to do something
Let's
with it.
replay
I
that
don't
in
know
the
what I'm going to
intro.
do with it, but I'm going to do something with it.
Hey,
You know what does bite? And we have a lot of them back in the Northwest growing up? Horseflies. Dude,
Now, see, that hurts.
those things are nasty.
I'm down with the horsefly bites,
Never.
Oof.
but I can't get down with a ladybug bite. I am not down with a ladybug bite.
You've gotten bitten by a horsefly, Bert?
Oh, yes.
I've never.
It's awful.
Hey, it make my doggone skin
I
hurt
know.
because of. So my granddaddy raced horses. Ron and I's granddad raced horses. And you ever seen the knots
Yep,
on a horse from a horse bite?
absolutely.
Like oh my God.
I feel bad for those horses when they got all those flies around them.
Yeah, man. Horse flies. Bert, how bad did it hurt?
It's not fun. Did y'all's grandpas, and this is
Yes.
a southern thing where if you're getting bitten or stung by something, like a natural pain relief would be
I know where
chewing
you're going.
tobacco.
Yep.
And I
on
remember
it.
getting bit by a horsefly, and my grandpa pulled some of that chaw out and threw it right on my arm.
That
One
and
of the
toothpaste.
grossest things, man. He's like, hold on, boy. And pulled that big old hammer he had in his lip out.
Well, they know. Like, they're old school. That's what I appreciate about grandpas.
I
Like,
think I'd have rather just hurt.
man.
Me too.
Like, put that chaw back in your lip.
Why
man.
does that work, though? Oh my
The
God.
tobacco, I think this is probably the wrong word, but I think it's a natural antiseptic and kind of kills off the germs and a natural pain reliever.
From the mouth of your grandpa?
Maybe not the mouth of my grandpa. I wouldn't say his slobber was
That
what
could
was
have been
doing it. I
healing.
think it's the tobacco.
That's fair. I'll give you that.
You know, this is also a cicada year.
Yeah.
This is the 13-year cicadas that are back this year. We've got a special blend of cicadas that are going to come out this summer.
Man, I hate
Woo,
that
baby.
too.
The
All over your windows.
13-year Great Southern Brood, whatever that means.
They come out every year.
They
Man, people are like,
do.
it takes them 17 years to come out the ground. I'm like, well, they do it every year. They come out every year. It's just stacked.
The last time these specific ones came were 2011.
Are these
So
worse
it's
than
been a
the
while.
other?
Yes.
These are the worst. I thought the
I don't know
last
what the
ones-
worst
What's so
version
bad
of
about
cicadas
these
are, but-
things, man?
Well,
What-
the last ones we had, like you driving down a road, and you just see them skidding all over the road from where you hitting them with your car and stuff.
According to a professor of horticulture at Tennessee Tech, there are millions of them per. I don't know what that word is.
Okay, that's fair.
I go, okay, acre. Never mind. I was looking at a different word, but then they put acre after that, so I know what an acre is. Millions of dollars of damages are apparently recorded on nurseries. I don't know why nurseries specifically, but there you go.
University of Connecticut says 7 different cicada species will be born in 2024.
God,
Just loud,
something to
big
look
ass
forward
bugs.
to.
And now y'all are going to tell me y'all been bit by cicadas
No,
too.
that I have
no,
not.
I've seen a kid eat one though.
Well,
I've ate one of
Sure.
them too.
over the
You
course of
have?
this week, NFL executives are trying to breed some trades for some wide
Ooh,
receivers.
There it is.
Boo on 3. 1, 2, 3. Boo.
Boo.
Your hate fuels me.
Okay, they're trying to. I'm here for it.
It makes me stronger.
Trying
I
to
know it did.
brew.
Will.
Thanks so much. Justin Jefferson, potential trade candidate. Mike Florio, others writing that as the salary cap was announced as high as it was over the weekend, guys like Justin Jefferson who are looking for extensions just added a little bit more money to that contract ask. We're going to do a new segment called Lie or Legit coming up at 9:20 where we discuss some of these stories of the NFL, whether or not they are legit or they are totally made up. But Justin Jefferson is at the top of NFL.com's list of 5 stars who could get traded this offseason. And the guy that he was essentially traded for, Stephon Diggs, is number 2 on the list.
Jeez.
Stephon Diggs' situation is going to be interesting because hopefully Buffalo sees what it actually takes to win at some point with the quarterback that they have, and they thought Stephon Diggs was going to be that guy. With that being said, as far as Justin Jefferson goes, I said earlier T. Higgins was in that conversation. You was right. He's one of the top, not the top. The top is Justin Jefferson and what they choose to do with him. That goes without even saying. You asked me to pick between T. Higgins and Justin Jefferson, I'm going Justin Jefferson all day. My issue is Minnesota, what other options do you have? You got Jordan Addison. But as far as like playmaking, if you aren't going to bring back Kirk Cousins,
Right.
And you at least have the wide receiver that can help the young quarterback or free agent quarterback.
Because they've found short-term success there, but it's nothing yet that is like, okay, we can get to the championship, right, and win it all. And now, like you said, they're trying to deal with the quarterback situation. Like, what are they going to do? Are they going to find their long-term? Is it more of a short-term guy if they sign someone here in the offseason? So to have a piece like Justin Jefferson, a guy you drafted, you've had so much success for, like, he's a game changer, guys. There's no arguing that. I feel like they're going to try to do everything they can to keep him, but we've seen the NFL, like, you know how things happen. I wouldn't be surprised. Overall, though, that Diggs and Jefferson situation, it really did work out best for both teams, at least for a good amount of time. Like, now we're going to see some things change because it's not working for Diggs over there in Buffalo for some reason. He just can't seem to be getting on the same page as everybody. I don't know if that's a him problem or if it's a coaching thing, but it's definitely a fit that the threads have kind of
Buffalo has
split.
It's going to be at a fork in the road trying to figure out what's going to happen with Gabe Davis, too.
Yeah.
That's the other conversation.
Mm-hmm.
The interesting thing about Minnesota is you're going to have a new quarterback there unless Kirk Cousins comes to an agreement, which I don't think is going to happen. They have the number 11 overall pick in the first round. You could do exactly what you did last time around with Stephon Diggs, flip him for a first, use that first on your next number 1 wide receiver, and go from there. However, is one of those top 3 available for you at 11? I doubt it. Yeah. Between Marvin Harrison Jr., Rome Odunze, and Malik Neighbors, is one of those 3 available for you at number 11? Because if so, maybe you do take that risk. It is interesting, though, with Justin Jefferson, if you've got a rookie quarterback coming in as well and they decide, hey, let's use number 11 on X, Y, or Z quarterback. Maybe it's J.J. McCarthy. Maybe it's moving back and taking Michael Penix. Whatever their options are at that point. You want that quarterback to have Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison at their disposal.
Yeah.
They're in a tough spot. And I think they've got to pay Justin Jefferson, and teams are going to start learning the second you can pay these wide receivers, do it. Because then the cap jumps as high as it did on Friday, and now your price for that player gets greater as well.
It does. And there's something else that plays into part with it, too. Like what were we playing? Lie or legit? This weekend I was listening to Mel Kiper, and I know it's probably something that shouldn't be done anyway. But as far as lie and legit goes, like, this is the portion of the season that I do hate because he's asking. I think it was either Drake May or Bo Nix. Man, you got to create something, create some headlines. And I'm like, why are we got to create headlines this time of the year as far as, speaking of the quarterback situation? If Minnesota wanted a quarterback at number 11, he's basically telling them, get more fanfare behind you so you can up your draft stock and get this type of eyes on you. And I'm just thinking to myself, see, this is how teams make mistakes. By listening to talking heads like this, as far as Minnesota potentially needing a quarterback, and you're telling me just because of this draft buzz that you're supposed to pick either Drake May or Bo Nix or J.J. McCarthy? Like, no, pick the guy that's going to work for you. If you feel like you have the quarterback that you want at 11, or if you want to move up, because justifiably it makes sense for you to go get one of those higher draft picks, but you got to negotiate with somebody. That, to me, could be a potential player, Titans, Minnesota draft exchange and stuff like that. But don't drum up headlines and storylines to justify you drafting a guy at number 11 when he's not potentially your guy for the future. I don't know what Kirk Cousins is as a franchise quarterback. He's fine.
Yeah.
I heard Savage say that he doesn't scare you. You know what I'm saying? He doesn't hurt you.
And Jefferson loves him for. I mean, he's sitting there saying, "Look,
it's because he butter his bread the best too,
right? And that's all he knows."
Exactly.
Really.
So, respectfully, seeing Dobbs in that offense wasn't the same as seeing Kirk Cousins in that offense. So don't drum up storylines though to fit your narrative that it's okay to draft this quarterback. If you like J.J. McCarthy or Bo Nix or Drake May, then take those dudes. Don't let it be headlines that do it.
Coming up, Justin Melo writes for the Draft Network, covers the Titans for Broadway Sports Media. He'll join us next talking about the prospects with the most to gain at the NFL Combine and where he falls on left tackle versus wide receiver for the Titans. Next.
Hey, it's Kayla Anderson, joined by certified arborist, our good friend Dean Glasscock of Save a Tree. And Dean, man, it's beautiful out there first and foremost, but I want you to tell us about that full service tree and shrub lawn care that you guys offer. And you are the experts, almost 30 years of experience?
Yeah, that's right. Just pick up the phone, 615-299-9999. It's about what's around your home, what you've invested outside around your home. We can help you protect your investment. You know, you can trust the experts at Save a Tree to help you maintain and enhance your new home's landscape. And we're really eager to share with you the customer service that we've given for the past almost 30 years, you know, the quality and expertise that we've established. You know, Save a Tree is also a leading tree shrub and lawn care provider in your neighborhood. Now, we don't cut grass, but we can certainly take care of the turf around your home along with your trees. So just pick up the phone, 615-299-9999 for a complimentary consultation. You know, we invite you to take advantage of this free consultation. We can put together a professional setup around your home to protect your investment. So, again, you all have a great Monday. It's 615-299-9999. Enjoy the day. Thanks, Kayla.
Thanks, Dean. And you can also check them out at saveatree.com. That's SAVATREE.com.
NFL Combine Week begins. We've got all the coverage you need right here on Ramon, Kayla, and Will. RKW is brewed by 8th and Roast with Ramon Foster and Kayla Anderson. I'm Will Bowling. Justin Melo covers the Titans for Broadway Sports Media, covers the NFL Draft for the Draft Network. Guys everywhere, writing about everybody, and he joins us right now here on the show. What's up, Justin? How are you?
Doing well, man. Excited that Combine Week has finally arrived. We know it's one of the most overreactionary weeks on the NFL calendar year, certainly on the pre-draft calendar. So it's going to be an exciting one. Excited to comb through these risers and fallers here.
Well, Justin, I enjoy following your work at JustinM_NFL on Twitter. The guy talks to like every prospect in the NFL draft. It's really cool to follow. As you look towards this week, Justin, and look at the Titans' needs specifically, how good of a spot are they in at 7, and how many great options do you feel like they have this year specifically?
Well, I think they're in a really good spot because I'll tell you what, if you ask anyone around the league, what are the 2 deepest position groups in the 2024 NFL draft? I think 9 out of 10 people would tell you offensive tackle and wide receiver. And as we know there in Nashville, it happens to be the Titans' 2 biggest needs right on the roster right now, especially with an offensive-minded coach coming in who seemingly wants to install a pass-happier offense than we've seen in recent years. I expect them to have multiple options at number 7. One great development for them is the rise of all the quarterbacks, right? I think certainly a few weeks ago, we were fairly certain that, 3 quarterbacks were going to go in the top 6. Well, now it's looking like we might have a 4th. With Michigan's J.J. McCarthy, who's getting a lot of buzz right now in NFL circles. So when the Titans come on the clock at 7, I wouldn't be stunned if they've got, 1 or 2 receivers to choose from, Malik Neighbors and Rome Odunze. And certainly they may even have their pick of the litter at offensive tackle, between Joe Alt and Olu Fashanu, the perceived top 2 tackles in this class. So I think there's a chance the Titans will actually have to make their Penny Sewell versus Jamar Chase decision that's sort of been making its rounds on Twitter. It'll be interesting to see which direction they go in.
Justin Melo, the Draft Network and Broadway Sports Media, our guest. Justin, how do you separate those 2 tackles, Olu Fashanu and Joe Alt, and which one is a better fit for Bill Callahan to work with?
Well, I think they're fairly different. Of course, there are some similarities, but right off the bat, the first thing I would tell you, and I think most would agree, is that between the 2, Olu Fashanu is the better pass protector, and Joe Alt is the better run blocker. Okay, now both of them are very good athletes. When I say this, I don't want to sell Joe Alt short. Both of them are good athletes. I think Fashanu's a very rare athlete. Okay, I think a lot of what he's done up to this point, he's gotten by on being an easy mover, and the athleticism is off the charts. Now, that's not to say necessarily that he's raw, but I do think he leans on the athletic traits, whereas Joe Alt, I think, leans more on his technical abilities. I think Bill Callahan would be thrilled to work with either one. Again, when you got the moldable athletic traits of Olu Fashanu, you've got someone that's already very good in pass protection. And again, if you're installing that pass-happy offense that they may be, you like that fit. On the other side of things, I can't help but get over the thought that Joe Alt might be the better fit next to Peter Skoronski. I think both of them are very dominant run blockers. Remember the old run left hat that Mike Vrabel used to wear? I almost see it making a comeback if this team drafts Joe Alt and pairs him with Skoronski on that left side. You'd have 2 extremely technically refined players, making up the left side of your line. That's what I think about when I think of Bill Callahan. Too many are focused on, well, they can take a bunch of raw guys and Bill Callahan's going to work miracles. No, Bill Callahan still wants to work with guys that have the traits and know what they are doing, right? So that's what I think of when I think of Bill Callahan. I think of getting guys that are extremely technically proficient and then watching how he could elevate their game. That's why I'm excited to see him work with Peter Skoronski, and I'd certainly be just as excited if they get Joe Alt in that room.
Justin Melo of the Draft Network with us this morning talking some of these prospects as Combine Week is upon us. With that being said, when it comes down to Joe Alt and Olu Fashanu, how big of a drop-off is there from those 2 guys and everybody else if the Titans do decide to go wide receiver at that number 7 pick instead of tackle?
Well, I think they're very clearly the 2 top prospects, at least on my board. And I know not everyone agrees. There are some other good ones. But if you're talking about what their options are going to be at 38, I think the drop-off is fairly significant, right? I think now you're looking at guys that are certainly a lot more raw than those two. You know, guys that have the multiple traits and that you hope Bill Callahan can bring everything else out of them. I think of a guy like Patrick Paul at Houston, who is an outstanding rare athlete, has vines for arms, but is still putting it together. You know, I think of the BYU tackle is the same thing. Those are the two guys that I see potentially being available at 38th overall. I got Jordan Morgan from Arizona as a back-end first, but maybe that's late enough where, you know, he makes it to the mid-30s. That's another guy. The arm length was a little disappointing at the Senior Bowl. I think just clocked in at 33 inches, but it's not prohibitive, right? He can play tackle with that length, and I think he will play tackle up with that length. He's a bit different than the others because he's got a more experience. I think he's technically better than some of the others that I just mentioned. But certainly I think the tackle drop-off from 7 to 38 is fairly large. Like my favorite thing about the NFL draft, we know it's not an exact science, right? It's not. And we get it wrong all the time. General managers make millions of dollars a year to get it right, and they get it wrong all the time. But those two at the top, they are very, very technically advanced for the most part, whereas I think the options at 38, you're working with slightly more of a in-the-works sort of project.
With the changing of the guard here in Nashville, as far as head coach, offensive coordinator, and just everything about the Titans, when we speak about their wide receiver position, though, if they do decide to go there, if they move back and take one first, what type of wide receiver are the Titans looking for, you think, as far as size? Is it just speed? Is it just playmaking ability? Because in years past, it's been about, well, can you block for the run game here in Nashville? And I think that's somewhat changing.
It certainly feels like it's going to change a little bit. Look, I think all we could draw from is Brian Callahan's experiences in Cincinnati. How much input did he have in that? You know, probably a little, but certainly not everything. But you look at some of the guys they targeted. I mean, Jamar Chase is a special case, right? You had the chemistry with Joe Burrow. He was really a no-brainer prospect, I think, at number 5 overall where they took him. But then you look at T. Higgins, right, a guy that was a second-rounder, and you start to think that there is a bit of a type that they have, right? I think they want big-bodied, dominant guys on the boundary. I think Chase and Higgins both fit that description, and they both also have a vertical playmaking ability. Certainly Chase a better separator than T. Higgins, but they weren't afraid of that when it came to T. I look at a guy like Keon Coleman out of Florida State, who I think has a very similar athletic profile to T. Higgins, even from a body type perspective, and the ability to sort of win at the catch point and dominate corners even without creating a ton of separation. And by the way, Keon Coleman represented by the same agent that represents Jeffrey Simmons. So there's really good rapport there between Rand Carthon and Keon Coleman's agent. So that's an interesting one. But certainly I think when you look at the history, big-bodied vertical playmakers, guys that win at the catch point, are physically impressive, seem to have been Callahan's type in Cincinnati.
We've had this conversation. Justin Melo of the Draft Network joining us in the RK Tub, leading up to the Combine. And Justin, when it comes to this year, and maybe even look at last year, with you having an NIL now, guys going back possibly because they're making money now, how big of the drop-off have you seen? Because you're looking at all these prospects, and you do a great job at that. How big is the drop-off maybe after the 4th round? Because let's remember, the Titans without a 3rd-round pick, that kind of puts them in an interesting position.
Well, I do think there's a significantly big drop-off. And I had a lot of conversations about that with the executive director of the Senior Bowl, Jim Nagy, who talked about he opened up to the media and said, look, as soon as we got past the first 100 guys on our board, we at times had a difficult time, sorting through the invites and how quickly you were getting from 4th rounders to guys that we had a 6th or 7th round or even an undrafted grade on. I wish I had the number in front of me, but I know you're talking about the impact NIL has made. This year at the Combine, we've got the smallest percentage of small school prospects that I believe we've ever had. Now, how do you define small school? That's up to the masses, I guess, but they've got the smallest percentage this year. And that's, what that's the result of? A lot of them were once in small schools. right? But if you make a name for yourself at that small school, you're hitting that transfer portal, you're chasing the NIL money at bigger programs, right? So I think the drop-off is very significant. The COVID year impact has also played a big role in that. But certainly no one I've spoken to has described this as a deep, 6-7 round draft. We've heard about teams that may try to package those picks and see if they can come up, or even trade them up to next year. Just essentially forego a pick this year to get one in next year's draft, where the perception is it's going to be a lot deeper. So I do think the reality is the Titans are probably not in a great spot there with not having a third rounder and having a couple extra day 3 picks. So you certainly wonder if Rand Carthon tries to move out of one of those picks, 7 or 38, move back and pick up that third-round pick that they no longer have, or if they try to package, even getting back into the fourth round, packaging a couple of those day 3 picks and trying to get to the early mid portion of the fourth, should certainly be something that's probably on his mind.
And okay, so let's say you do that, Justin. We've talked about, the tackle and the wide receiver. Let's get to the defense, because last year they didn't draft one defensive player. They've got to do something this year to at least boast up their secondary. Inside linebacker is kind of a concern if you look at that position. What do you think you do with what's available there?
Well, I certainly think corner and linebacker are going to be positions, if they do go defense on day 3, that they have to target, right? I think that first day draft capital, second day, is probably going to be focused heavily on offense, as we just said. But as you get to the later portions, they got to find some guys that can play defense for them. And there are a couple of them. Trevin Wallace, linebacker out of Kentucky, was at the Senior Bowl. He's a really interesting guy. He's a former high school track star, long jump 23 feet. Which I think was 4.5 inches away from shattering a 44 old school record. Tyrese Knight out of UTEP is someone that I think is going to have a really big week this year at the con. He had a great year at UTEP, by the way. Something like 140 tackles, 6 sacks. He also he's going to run the 40 in the low 4.5s, is what I've been told. That would place him in like the 96th percentile. By the way, among all off-ball linebackers. And then one of those corners that I think is going to be a big riser, and I'm confident he's going to make me look smart a few days from now, is Carlton Johnson out of Fresno State. Okay, it's a guy no one's talking about enough. He's taken a long, winding road to this point. I believe started at the JUCO ranks, was at Riverside City College, went to Southern Utah, ended up at Fresno State, had a good year this year, career high 4 picks. Look, out of all the combine invites, every player, every position, a lot of track stars, as we all know, right, in their background. He ran the fastest 4x100 meter relay out of anyone there, 40.29, okay, the fastest time out of anyone. He hit 22 miles per hour at the Senior Bowl in January. That's one of the fastest times in Senior Bowl history, at least since they started tracking it in 2018 through Zebra technology. He actually surpassed it. He was over 22 miles per hour. This is a guy that's going to run 4.3. I think, from all the information I've gathered. He could run the fastest 40. I mean, that probably bumps him up if he does. But that right now is a day 3 corner that Titans should have their eyes on.
Justin Melo, the Draft Network and Broadway Sports Media, speaking my language with the 100-meter times. I love it this morning. Justin, another guy who clocked in at a big miles per hour spot in a game for Tennessee this year was Jalen Wright, running back, and his run he had against Georgia, the first play of that game. As you look at him as a prospect, day 2 or day 3, how do you view his value, and how do you view the Titans' needs at running back as well as they potentially look at bringing back Derrick Henry or maybe just get someone else to complement Tajay Spears?
Well, you talk about Jalen Wright. There's another guy that I think is going to have a huge week. You talked about track. He ran the 55-meter dash in 6.29 seconds and the 100-meter in 10.85. Okay, he's a candidate to run the fastest 40. I think among all the running backs, and I think a 4.3 is probably within the realm of possibility. He had a great year this year. I don't got to tell you guys or the audience that's listening, surpassed 1,000 yards for the first time in his career. He's a versatile home run threat. The long speed, I think, speaks for itself. This running back class, we're still sorting through it, right? I don't think there's a first-round pick in the class, and I don't think there's an obvious candidate that's going to be the first one off the board. Who's to say Jalen Wright can't elevate himself into the round 2 by running the fastest 40? When I look at the Titans' need at the position, I'm very intrigued by how they're going to address it. As much as I love Tajay Spears, I'd be fairly stunned if he was ever a three-down back that could handle the workload that Derrick Henry handled once upon a time, right? I think you're always going to want a second guy, maybe a sort of more of a banger between the tackles, a bigger body type. If they don't re-sign Derrick Henry, there are a lot of those types in free agency that they can probably get good value on. I look at guys, I'll put my hand up, guys that had better years than I ever thought they'd have, like Zach Moss with the Colts. Titans learned that firsthand the first time they played them. Devin Singletary with the Houston Texans. I never saw a whole lot out of him in Buffalo. Had a fantastic year. He hits free agency. Another one that I think makes a lot of sense if they do want to pursue one as an unrestricted free agent, and maybe, a lot less dollars than what Derrick Henry might be getting even at his age, is Gus Edwards with the Baltimore Ravens. I think that's a guy that would be an outstanding compliment to Tajay Spears. So I'm curious to see how they address the position. I don't necessarily know that they'll draft one for a second year in a row, especially right now with the limited capital they have. Then again, I go back on that and I think you could probably get one in the 6th or 7th round, right? That, value, especially at a non-premium position that you think pairs nicely with with Tajay Spears. I look at the kid from Wisconsin, Braylon Allen. I think he's going to have a big combine. He power cleans 406 pounds, by the way. Bench press is 365. He is a big, big boy. He runs a 10-yard split in 1:49. He is way too big to be running that kind of time. So I think they'll have lots of options if it's not Derrick Henry.
Just real quick, is Cooper DeJean legit, and will he hurt himself by not working out this week at the Combine?
I wish that he was working out at the Combine. It's a shame that he's not, because he was going to put up big numbers. He won the state's long jump championship, 23 feet, 7.5 inches. He ran the 100 meters in 11:16. Once ran a 20-yard sprint at 2:39. So I think he was going to have a really good week. People were thinking he was going to run 4.3. So I was a little disappointed that he's not working out. When I watch the tape, I'll admit I've got a couple more questions and hesitations. There was a corner there we talked a lot about last year, Riley Moss, that I believe ended up going in the top 100. I had similar concerns. A lot of zone coverage on that tape, a lot of it. You talk to corners at the Senior Bowl, every scout asked them the same question: how you feel about playing man? This is a man coverage league, okay? And there's a lot of time for Riley Moss to figure that out, but he didn't make the impact in year one with the Broncos that people thought he might make as a top 100 pick. I've got similar questions about Cooper and his exposure to press man. I wish they played it more at Iowa.
He is Justin Melo, the Draft Network, Broadway Sports Media, covering the Titans. If you're not following him draft time, you're not doing draft right. You've got to follow this guy. He is outstanding, covering the NFL draft and covering the league. Justin, really good stuff, man. We really appreciate it.
Pleasure as always.
Thanks,
Absolutely.
Justin.
Yes, sir.
Thanks,
There's Justin Melo with us this morning. Some things to dive into there that he brings up that I think are interesting. Plus, Marvin Harrison Jr. making a very surprising combine decision to some. We'll talk about it next. Wrap it up hour number 3 on a fast-moving RKW on 104.5 The Zone. We are brewed by 8th and Roast. Must be the espresso we've had this morning.
I know.
Makes the show go by quicker.
It does. I'm a little chatty this morning because of it. You said, I think this is going to have more caffeine in it, and I think you're right.
It's needed.
It is.
On a Monday.
It is.
Beautiful day outside, though. There's energy from the sun that we can all take. See ya, seasonal depression.
Yeah, for real.
See you next winter.
I do
Knock on wood.
realize in retirement from football where I wasn't going outside and hated it, I understand the goodness of sunlight and being outside and
That's
active. It makes you feel a whole lot better. I was
does.
super anti that for a while.
Yeah.
Interesting that Marvin Harrison Jr. is not going to do anything at the Combine, hasn't hired an agent, did not engage in pre-Combine training that most other players do ahead of Indy. Albert Breer, SI.com, in his Monday morning column says, all signs show Harrison's plan is to continue working out in Columbus with Ohio State strength and conditioning tycoon, he writes, Mickey Marotti, among others, to prepare not to run a 40-yard dash. He says, after putting up consecutive 1,200-yard, 14-touchdown seasons, he is telling NFL teams, if you want to know how I run and how I catch, turn on the tape.
Yeah, I'm not super surprised by this. And Mickey Marotti's been up there for a really long time. He does an incredible job with that strength and conditioning program. I mean, even with the changes of coaches, he's stood around, and you talk to any of those players that are now in the league, they'll really talk him up because he does a good job at preparing these guys for the next level. I'm a little surprised he's doing nothing. Like, I know there were some Ohio State guys last year that went to the Combine. They didn't run the 40, but they were doing some other things. I'm a little bit surprised. But then again, if he knows he's the third guy off the board or the second guy off the board, if you're trying to preserve yourself and you're saying, hey, my film says it all, I don't really think anyone's going to argue that, but this is kind of the day and age we're in when it comes to some of these huge prospects already knowing what they have.
Lance Zierlein on Twitter, NFL.com, NFL draft analyst, writes, no pro day when Malik Neighbors is about to run a 4.3 is an interesting choice if you're a 4.4 wide receiver. And he says, well, Neighbors is my wide receiver 1, Marvin is his wide receiver 2. And both are his top 2 prospects in the draft with the scores that he gives each wide receiver. Says there will be more teams with Malik Neighbors at wide receiver 1 than the public thinks.
Really?
That is from Lance Zierlein of NFL Media.
Again, we're talking about parsing times, right? This ain't a time to uplift guys. This is a time to break you down. It's essentially, as you just said a second ago, to me, and I'll say this in a good, positive way, this is also the C.J. Stroud effect, where a guy got bashed the entire offseason leading up to the draft or the entire draft season, and he goes out and wins Offensive Rookie of the Year. Look at my tape. It's essentially what he's telling everybody right now. I get it. And again, conversation that we had earlier, too, and speaking about how can the Combine help or hurt the guys. For the top 10 bulk group, the walk-off-the-bus ready starters, there's no real benefit for them other than justifying what you already thought about them or trying to knock them in comparison to somebody else. Malik Neighbors probably will test well. And I also think that Marvin Harrison Jr. will too, but the fact that his quarterback won't be there, you look at the situation where if he does pull a hammy, and I mean, he's probably going to go on 30 visits potentially, or at least double digits. He's about to be worn down and worn out also. Get him to Ohio State and see what happens there. There's no question he's bona fide.
Yeah.
He's stamped.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's good.
It's interesting reading that more people are going to have Neighbors number 1 than what the average college football or NFL fan thinks.
You're cutting hairs at this point.
You are.
I'm with the conversation of Neighbors. I am. But with the catches that we saw Marvin Harrison Jr. make, and of course you mentioned his dad, he's been him since the time he walked on Ohio State campus. My question is, when did Malik Neighbors turn into this guy also? The last 2 years or just this year?
Well, he shined this year for sure.
This year
He
was
had a
his.
Bolitnikoff-level season, but it was given to the guy with the bigger name.
And on top of that, he finally got the quarterback that he needed.
Yeah.
I like both.
Right.
I mean, you pick one, I
know.
get the other. Is the way I'm
No,
looking at it.
I'm like, there's no lose in that situation
No.
to me.
But money slot is the only thing
Yeah.
that matters right
Yep.
now.
It's interesting. Albert Breer writes, the funny thing is that it's not all that different from the decisions made by teams more and more these days to keep their coaching staffs home from Indianapolis. It feels like we are entering an era where the NFL Combine is being devalued as the NFL tries to make it more of a primetime television property. NFL Network is putting 40-yard dashes in primetime on a weekend now. Whereas I remember sitting in college, living at the house I lived in, and we'd sit around the lunch table and watch receivers run 40s at like 11 a.m. on a Monday. This is primetime television on weekends now, yet despite that, coaches like Mike McCarthy, Matt LaFleur, Kyle Shanahan, Robert Saleh, and Sean McVay aren't going. Okay, well then if I'm a prospect, I'm thinking, well, if they're not there, if Super Bowl winning coaches are not showing up, why should I show up? If I know that my stock is set in stone. I just don't think Marvin Harrison Jr.'s stock is as set in stone as a Caleb Williams, who doesn't need to prove anything throwing at the combine for me.
How far down does Marvin Harrison Jr. make it in the draft, though?
At 4 at the latest.
I don't think he
latest.
drops below 3.
He doesn't get to 5 at L.A.
Exactly.
The only way he gets to 4 is if Arizona decides to go neighbors instead, but
Yeah.
I don't think that's happening either. I think he probably goes 3.
So we have to at some point ask the question: is it selfish or is it smart at this point? I mean, it's the Deion Sanders effect. He ran his 40 and went home, right? I know I ain't gonna be there for the rest of y'all jokes. Is essentially what he said.
To each is your own, I
Right.
think. Honestly, you guys, in this day and age, with how much that these players are being told, or like you have to know where you're getting the best advice from, trust those people, and then do what's best for you. And everybody is completely different in this day and age, but especially top 10s where you kind of know your worth.
I also say this too. I think we're on the forefront of the benefits of what NIL can mean for guys now. You understand business, your body, and the economics of what professional sports are also. I think business decisions.
I think the only way Marvin Harrison Jr. gets to 5 is if somehow somebody's trading up to take a quarterback.
Yeah.
At 4, or trading up to take him at 5. But of course, you got New England 3 and Arizona 4. I got those flipped. Both in the market for quarterback. Well, not Arizona. Both in the market for wide receivers for sure, though, between New England and Arizona. I think Marvin Harrison Jr. is either a Patriot or a Cardinal, unless somebody else trades up to 3 or 4 to take him.
Boy, if he go to L.A. with what's his name over there,
With Herbert?
Herbert.
Yikes.
I don't think he'd get to that point, but it'd be crazy. There'd be no more excuses for
right?
Justin Herbert anymore. That's for sure. You could cut Keenan Allen and Mike Williams
Exactly.
at that point. Coming up next, fourth and final hour of the show. We'll recap what you missed so far. Get to a interesting piece as well in Albert Breer's Monday morning column about the franchise tag possibilities for T. Higgins. He writes about why the salary cap might actually encourage Cincinnati to trade T. Higgins. Coming up next.
It's Ramon Foss for Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. In the month of February, man, it's all about finding your perfect match. You know it's Lover's Month as far as Valentine's go, man. And this month with Hiller, you can get your perfect match as far as getting a free UV light when you purchase a select new HVAC system for your home, or a free whole home surge protection when you buy a new whole home generator. 50% off of Discella when you buy a new tankless water heater, which are clutch. But for other things that Hiller is providing for you, whether that be your HVAC that needs to be serviced as the weather's about to change soon, a plumbing issue, or electrical, they are the go-to company for all things around your house. And when it comes to their service they provide for you, if you need anything done around your house to get one of these sweet deals, simply go to happyhiller.com and be sure to tell them that Ramon sent you.
9:01. Good morning from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. I am Robert Walsh, and happy Underwear Olympics week. The Combine starts this week, and 104.5 The Zone will be well represented as Ramon Foster, Titans Radio, and Buck Rising will make themselves familiar with some NFL draft prospects, mostly team meetings and medicals until Thursday workouts start with defensive linemen and linebackers. Two of the top quarterback prospects announced that they would not be working out at the Combine this week. Caleb Williams and Jaden Daniels will be in Indy for meetings, but will wait until their individual pro days to work out for NFL teams. And in the NHL, Preds complete a 5-game road trip sweep for the first time in team history, on the tail end of it beating Anaheim 4-2. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Nine a.m. in Nashville, and the fourth and final hour is here already. Ramon, Kayla, and Will, RKW is brewed by 8th and Roast with our 11-year NFL veteran who hits the road for Indy in an hour. Ramon Foster, Kayla Anderson, Robert Walsh, I'm Will Bowling. Coming up in 20 minutes, a new segment that is sweeping the nation. Lie or legit? We'll do that coming up in just a few minutes. As the season of lies begins, we tell you what is true and what is untrue. Coming up in 20 minutes. 615-737-1045. I love it when a Monday show flies by this quickly.
Mm-hmm. And when the weather's nice.
Yeah, for sure. This one's definitely flown by today. We're already in the 9, man.
Mm-hmm.
Just poured another cup of coffee for no reason.
Me too.
Only because it was good.
There you go.
feel
Well,
me?
and you're driving, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that will help you
Again,
along
because
the way.
the things that happen at the Grand Canyon, I have noticed I'd much
Exactly.
rather be a driver,
Yes.
okay?
You will prefer that if you can.
Y'all ain't ever got to worry about who's driving whenever I'm with you,
Exactly.
okay? Got trust issues behind the wheel.
Yeah.
615-737-1045. SI.com's Albert Breer writing in his weekly Monday morning column that with the franchise tag numbers coming in higher than expected because the cap was set on Friday at a much higher than expected $255.4 million. Albert Breer says he thinks there could be a better market for trades of tagged players. And the franchise tag of T. Higgins became official an hour ago, courtesy first of NFL Media's Ian Rappaport. So 6 positions are now over $20 million if you want to tag them. Quarterback, wide receiver, offensive line, defensive end, defensive tackle, and linebacker. Only 2 positions were over $20 million in 2023.
Whew.
So Albert Breer says T. Higgins will be tagged at $21.816 million. That means a second tag for him in 2025 would be $26.179 million. That is a 2-year cost of $48 million, meaning it's unlikely that T. Higgins would sign a long-term deal at less than $25 million a year. So then you do the math with Cincinnati. T. Higgins, $25 million. Jamar Chase, $25 million. Joe Burrow, a lot more than that. Is there a scenario now where the Titans should be in on a T. Higgins trade?
With where they are as a franchise, if you think Will Levis needs another weapon, D-Hop gets you one more year with a guy like T. Higgins while Traylon continues to figure himself out, I can see a world where that works. Again, parsing out the salary and how you're going to build and continue to stack up with other free agents. If you tell me right now that the Titans could go wide receiver and free agency, off-ball linebacker, it also makes the draft a little bit easier. Remember, we discussed, like, what are the Titans going to draft? Well, it somewhat depends upon, what the free agency looks like. I think that gives a clear understanding of what you're willing to do for a guy like T. Higgins, too. The only issue that they have is which draft picks are you giving up for T. Higgins? You mentioned earlier, second. I'm going to start at a 1. I got to start at a 1 because, I mean, that's just what we are. You need one of my assets as far as T. Higgins is considered. Bert let us know earlier that Cincinnati seems to be a team that wants to win in trades when it comes down to how they do business. If that's the case, are you willing to give up your 2 this year? You've already given up a 3 as far as moving up for Will Levis. The understanding of how Rand and his crew are going to negotiate if you do go get a T. Higgins. You willing to give up a second for next year? If I'm Cincinnati, I want instant gratification when it comes down to me giving up one of my main assets right now. I love the idea of the sign and trade or the tender or franchise and trade, but you also got to look at this group and say, as far as the Titans go, how are we going to build this team up if we keep giving away draft picks? If they had somebody else's draft picks, I think who is it? Washington got a lot. No, Chicago got a ton of picks this year. If they were Chicago in this situation, I'd definitely jump on the table and say, go do work. But not right now.
Unfortunately, they put themselves in this position, and that's why you have a new head coach. That's why you have a new GM, because unfortunately, the draft picks that they've had in the past, they haven't hit on, or they haven't worked, or they've done things to get rid of them. And so now you're in this position where you're having to really fill so many holes on this team. Because we could argue almost every position you need to pad it, or you need a star. And so I think it's the situation, unfortunately, while I would love to have T. Higgins here, I just don't think they're going to have enough, or they can give up enough at this point while they're trying to rebuild to do that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, as far as what Rand Carthon has said and Chad Brinker have said about they know the reconstruction of this roster will happen through the draft, they can't afford to give up more picks if that's the case, especially not a second-round pick when you don't have a third. That was the cost of getting Will Levis. And if Will Levis ends up being a franchise quarterback, it's worth the cost. But it was still a risk.
Still a risk.
Certainly.
That you have to wait to see the payoff of it, too.
Mm-hmm.
Like you love the spark that Levis gave you last year, but that 58% completion got to go up. His ability to make smart plays has to go up. And just the playmaking ability, too. He showed a little glimpse of it. I ain't saying he ain't got it. But those are the things you have to happen in year 2. Again, most coaches I've been around have told you, whatever you did in your rookie year would not impress me into that second year. And I think that's the expectation for most pros. So I'm hoping Levis has the mental capacity, ability, and understanding of all that. And I'm saying he does. So I expect to see a better Levis.
And look, he's got to stay healthy too, right?
Yeah,
I mean, and nobody helped him in front of him last year. So you hope like there's at least some improvement where the guy can stand up straight for a majority of the games.
Mm-hmm.
Does the increased salary cap hurt the Titans? $255 million is a lot more than expected. Teams that made bad contracts are now rewarded for getting what were then bad contracts done earlier, because yesterday's price is not today's price. The Titans have a lot of money, but now so do teams that made difficult decisions and perhaps wrong decisions on bad contracts. I look at a team like Houston or Indy that now has even more money and they're contenders. The Titans had money to spend, but now everyone has more money to spend. I think Friday's salary cap news was not great news for the Titans. I don't think it's worst case scenario. I don't think it's terrible. I don't think it hurts them significantly. But I don't think it helps.
Well, where they are in the division, with it's like you said, they're laid out of the blocks right now, to use a track reference real quick. Well, they are with where everybody else is in this division. And I can understand that being the case, but here's the thing. I hate to use the Joel Embiid conversation or a slogan that he's used, trust the process. That's essentially what you want. And I ain't gonna see, you can see the sand going through the hourglass when it comes down to what the Jags have kind of set themselves up for, but they got a lot of hard decisions to make too. The Josh Allen signing, the wide receivers that they have. I mean, at some point, the Christian Kirk deal is going to come up to where they either got to re-sign him or something else too. And, of course, with Trevor Lawrence, you're right, it does make it easier. But the idea that they are far ahead, I just don't know. The only ones that can be somewhat tricky and scary to me is what Houston has done.
Yeah.
That, to me, is where, as Houston, we have a problem. You might have a problem on your hand when it comes down to competing in the division, what they already have. Nico Collins emerged. They got an outside rusher and Will Anderson. They got their quarterback. Running backs, they've set that up. The O-line, like, when you mention it like that, Will, I wasn't ready to have this conversation this morning about what his team is compared to other ones. But, yeah, that cap changes a lot with how they need to. Do you speed up the process and go start buying players? Or do you just simply say, we're going to run our own race and play this money ball style of football?
And that's what I was going to say. If you're the Titans right now, you have to just put your faith in who you've hired in Rand Carthon, the guys that surrounding Rand Carthon, right? Because you have to worry about your own organization right now. There is so much going on in the NFL in this world, and in terms of the AFC South in particular, where you can look around and say, oh, shoot, well, they're doing that, though, and they're taking leaps and bounds. But right now, with everything that they need, they have to just trust in the personnel that they have, what they're going to get, how they're going to make those decisions. And you've been saying this for months now. They have a lot of money, yeah, and there's other places that have a lot of money too, but it's what you do with that money, how you spend it wisely. I think that's the biggest thing that you hope the Titans do. We're going to see.
Yeah.
615-737-1045. Coming up, lie or legit? Robert Walsh takes us through NFL storylines. We tell you whether or not what we are being told is real or what we are being told is fake. It's lie or legit next.
It's Ramon Foss for Secure Lawn, and today, Monday, y'all, February 26th, it's one of those days where the weather's just right type of sunshine outside, the weather's feeling good, and a lot of dudes going to be pulling out that lawnmower, but y'all going to be a little bit premature. Why? Because you're going to have a couple weeds in there that you probably need to get cleaned out, some of that pre-emergent need to be sprayed in. I'm telling you what you need to do first before you get too hype and going into the spring and summer. Get Secure Lawn over to your house to spray some of their awesome sauce on your lawn, kill some of those pesky weeds, okay? And they deliver a prime service to their customers every single time they step up to come and deliver service to your house. They are properly trained and they're prepared to service you as best as they possibly can. And the best thing about it, if you're not satisfied with them, there's no contracts. You can let them go right then and there. But I promise you this, they will try to make it right. They've been serving Middle Tennessee for over 20 years. They're punctual, and I can't emphasize enough. No contracts. So if you don't like them, you don't have to use them. But I promise you will. Simply call them 615-893-8455 or go to securelawn.com.
RKW is brewed by 8th Roast on 104.5 The Zone. Ramon, Kayla, and Will. And coming up in 20 minutes, if you missed our conversation with Justin Melo of the Draft Network, we'll give you the breakdown on the differences between Olu Fashanu and Joe Alt as he sees it and the way both of those guys can help one another at the NFL Combine this week. That's coming up in just a few minutes. But we turn the microphone over to our esteemed producer, the most interesting producer in the world, Robert Walsh, because we have a new segment, Bert, that is sweeping the nation.
I like that.
Live versus legit is the game. Bert is my name. And we're going to filter through some of this BS and figure out what's real and what's not. And we're going to start with a player who has been talked about a lot going into free agency. Only way he's going to end up on another team is if he's traded, but will he be traded? Justin Fields. Will he be traded before the draft?
Give it up for Bert.
Nice.
That's a
Nice
great intro, first and
Bert.
foremost.
Give it up for Bert,
Before we
baby.
answer the first
Very
question.
good intro.
Every once in a while.
Love it.
So, Justin Fields, will he be traded before the draft, or do you guys think that that is a lie?
I think so. I think he does get traded. Somebody's going to want to play that game with him. Again, there is no long-term commitment for Justin Fields, even if you do accept that deal with him. The issue that Chicago has is the fact that everybody knows they want Caleb Williams. The fact that they know they want Caleb Williams, yes, they can keep Justin Fields on the roster, but that doesn't do well for the psyche of your new franchise quarterback if you keep him on. And besides that, you can try to get a 1 for him, but here's the thing. You want in-house fighting and people trying to say, well, I like Justin better in the practice setting or Caleb, or do you want to go with Caleb strictly and make that his franchise and finally get some stability as a organization? He's getting traded, and not for first-rounders also. I can almost see Justin Fields being traded for a couple of 3s at this point because he still has some value. He's traded.
I say it's legit, and it's before the draft, right? Is that what you said? Got to be happening before the draft?
Yes, before the draft.
Yeah, and I think we still have yet to see exactly when that will happen. I think it might even happen right before the draft, but I think it will happen. I think they've made their decision up in Chicago that he has not been consistent enough for them to rely on him to give him any more time. Now, could he go somewhere else and be that starter and find maybe success there? I'm not willing to give up on Justin Fields yet. I think that that's still a possibility. But when you have Caleb Williams, although I think I'm not 100% sold he's going to be like a franchise quarterback, I think he has all the tools. I think you have to go up and get him.
I think he's traded in the next 2 weeks, to be more specific. Chicago made a trade for the number 1 overall pick. Carolina, of course, made that trade for the number 1 overall pick a year ago with Chicago. Happened right after the Combine. It was during the SEC tournament, actually. We're sitting at the SEC tournament, and that trade was made. Albert Breer said last week in an appearance on, I believe, Chicago radio, where he said the bones of a trade could be in place this week at the Combine and believes a deal for Fields could be made ahead of free agency and the new league year in a month. Said in this case, I don't think you necessarily need the premium to move Justin Fields before the start of free agency. The reason why is because if you do wait till the end of March or the beginning of April, there are going to be far fewer teams that have a quarterback opening. You make that trade before Kirk Cousins lands somewhere, before Russell Wilson possibly lands somewhere, before Vegas gets their guy, Atlanta, all these teams in the veteran quarterback market. You trade Justin Fields before that is settled. Then you have more bidders. The value is higher. Legit. I think Justin Fields is traded within the next 2 to 3 weeks.
Legit. Everyone in agreement that is legit. We'll stick with the quarterback theme. A fellow we found out is not going to participate in the Combine. The rumor, Caleb Williams is the best quarterback in the draft. Is that a lie or legit?
You know my thoughts on this. I think it's totally legit. The arm talent, the athleticism. I know the system that he is in is a difficult one to project at the NFL level. This is classic NFL draft overthinking things going into something that we've known to be true for over a year. We've got a big gap of not watching football, and we try to convince ourselves that something is not true just because there's no other football to watch. I don't want to do that with Caleb Williams. He is absolutely the best quarterback in this draft.
When you're talking about the quarterbacks that are here, and we've even, I can't remember who we were talking to on Friday, but was saying, have we kind of looked, it's Sam Munson. Mm-hmm. Have we looked at this quarterback class and said, oh man, they might be more hyped than, we thought going into the season. We thought this was a great quarterback class, and now you're thinking, well, how many of these guys are really going to be franchise quarterbacks when it's all said and done? That's yet to be figured out because it's kind of a flip of the coin at this point, right? When you are kind of dissecting these quarterbacks and if they're going to make it at the next level. I think right now with Caleb compared to the other guys, yes, he is the best quarterback in this draft, but that does not mean that he is going to lead Chicago to a Super Bowl. That does not mean he's going to be that guy 5 years down the road. We've seen it time and time again with first-round picks that sometimes they just don't pan out. And so I think he is, in this draft, the best quarterback because of the tools. Now, can he handle going to Chicago where they are trying to build again and there's going to be a lot of pressure on him, which he didn't handle very well at USC? That's to be determined. But I'll say legit.
I say lie.
Really?
Lie.
Who's your quarterback?
Jaden Daniels.
I knew you were going to go there. You like Jaden.
I do. Maybe I was persuaded a little bit by Babsy and by Savage and the conversations they've had. This young man continually just makes plays. I've seen what LSU without him, I think, is teetering as a team, as a squad. He found ways to make plays. He found ways to extend drives for them. He is the playmaker and just facilitator of all things. And here's the thing, the separator from me. Jaden Daniels is going to go to a sub-500 team. He's going to go to a squad that absolutely need him to make plays. And looking at his tape, his size, his ability to escape the pocket, he shows to me, I think, personally, he will have a better projection on being a pro to immediately help win. And he can sit in the pocket and deliver daggers too. I like Caleb Williams. So I think he's top tier, yes. But I think as far as best quarterback in the draft, give me Jaden Daniels.
If Caleb Williams even had as good of a high school defense as some California high school quarterbacks do, we're talking about him totally differently. Like, it's not his fault his defense couldn't stop a nosebleed. Neither could Jaden Daniels' though.
Yeah. I like the streakiness of him. I do.
The group is split, but I think we can all agree that landing spot makes a big indication of how good somebody can be. If C.J. Stroud was on the Carolina Panthers, he probably would not have been the rookie of the year. We're going to stay in the NFC North, though. We were discussing the Bears. Now we're going to discuss the Vikings. Justin Jefferson getting traded. Is he a Viking or is he hiking to a new team?
Love it.
I got him as a Viking. I can't see him leaving. It's too valuable as a player for what they got. Their missing piece, of course, is going to be quarterback. They have the ability, if they want to move up and go get their guy or get a free agent. There's a couple stopover. Jake Browning, Mason Rudolph, Baker Mayfield is in this market. Russell Wilson is in this market. They have options. My thing is you can't supplement a Justin Jefferson. Justin Jefferson stays in Minnesota.
Yeah, it's a lie to me. I don't think he's going anywhere. I think when it's all said and done, you've got to keep your valuable pieces. And with them already probably not having Kirk Cousins back, and we know what a difference maker Jefferson can be because we saw it when he was out, right? When he was hurt, you saw just how big of a difference maker he is. So I think if you're the Vikings, you have to be smart. He's the face of their franchise right now. I think it would be stupid to trade him away. I know that he's concerned and he wants Kirk Cousins back, but that's also, he wants a bag too, and they're going to have to give it to him.
Got to.
We have heard for about a year that the structure of the deal is the issue for Justin Jefferson, and the number is going to be around $30 million a year, which is above the Tyreek dollar amount in Miami. He will be the highest paid wide receiver of all time as soon as he gets paid. The thing is, you got to pay him before Cincinnati pays Jamar Chase, because then Jamar Chase will become the highest paid. And if Jamar Chase gets first, then that becomes the floor for Jefferson's deal. So Cincinnati and Minnesota should be racing towards who can get that deal done more quickly. Does Justin Jefferson want 3 years fully guaranteed at signing? Does he want to be the highest paid wide receiver in the NFL? All of these things the structure of the deal and the guaranteed money are why he doesn't have a deal yet. I think it's classic posturing and negotiating tactics from his camp, from Minnesota. Minnesota's likely going to have a young quarterback or a new starting quarterback in place next season. He needs a safety net in the best wide receiver in football. And I think Justin Jefferson right now is the best wide receiver in football. You don't bring in a rookie quarterback, a young quarterback, and then ship off his number one asset to be successful as your new quarterback. I think him getting traded is a lie.
Yeah, it's a lie right there. Definitely. And in the comments, Tip says trade the entire Titans skill group for Justin Jefferson.
Well, I saw somebody tweet a minute ago. Do you trade the number 7 overall pick for Justin Jefferson?
Now we talking different right
Oh
here.
boy, I'm still saying no on that.
Is it worth moving Peter Skronsky to left tackle in order to add someone like Justin Jefferson?
Man, no.
Dude,
Get the
no.
protection. Get the
Yeah.
protection.
You gotta,
I can
be able
pass
to
on.
have time to throw to him.
Yeah, you do. He sells tickets. That's what
Yeah,
he will do.
sure.
I like the conversation of a guy, but that 7th overall pick when you need protection for your quarterback. Like he went through it. Like there's a big decision to be made on Levis. It just is. Ain't no other way around that one. And that starts with can he sit in the pocket and deliver the ball? Him sitting in the pocket means finding him some protection. Yeah. Nah, I ain't willing. As of right now, today, I ain't willing to do it.
You'd also have to give up more than just the 7th overall pick.
How much money? So you said 30 M's?
$30 million a year, 7th overall, plus what do you think, a second next year?
Justin, yeah.
Probably.
Yeah, for him, yes.
A 1 and a 2.
I mean, 5 picks were traded to get Tyreek Hill.
Jeez,
So, like,
Yeah,
just
it's
think
more
about
than
it
just
like
a 1
that.
and a 2,
Dang
too.
it.
And a top 10 is valuable.
And Miami's in a better spot than the Titans were at the point.
No, Bird's
They-
right. 100%.
Diva receivers are the ultimate deceivers, but the group thinks that he is going to stay in Minnesota. Another receiver that could be on the move, but it is yet to be decided, T. Higgins. Should the Titans trade for T. Higgins? Is that a lie or is it legit?
For T. Higgins. No, because you ain't got the draft stock. That's a lie.
Yeah, lie. We talked about it a little bit earlier. I just think that because this team is having holes in so many positions right now, and you're going to have to fill those wisely, you can't be giving up a first-round pick or even a second-round pick because, again, you don't have that third, and you need all the guys you can get.
I agree. I'm not taking the risk on T. Higgins. I haven't seen him be a number 1 receiver yet. He wouldn't have to be a number 1 receiver here either because DeAndre Hopkins is obviously still on the roster, but I would rather have someone more homegrown who you feel like you can develop into a number 1 under the leadership of Hopkins while still getting your tackle. So I do not think the Titans should be in the T. Higgins trade market, no.
And if the Bengals push it, you could always call their bluff because it's not like they could run into a situation like Mike Evans is this year, where the second year you tag someone, their number goes up exponentially, where the Bengals would not be able to afford him. So it's kind of like a long-lost lover thing. Just wait a year, and then maybe we could rekindle something in Nashville. We talked about quarterbacks who could be traded. A quarterback you don't have to trade for. He is a free agent. Kirk Cousins. The rumor is he ends up in Atlanta. Is that legit or it's a lie?
I think it's totally legit. Because I think Kirk Cousins might make the Atlanta Falcons the leader in the NFC South. Kirk Cousins was great last year before he got hurt. He was outstanding. Tore his right Achilles in Week 8, was completing 69.5% of his throws, had 18 touchdown passes to 5 interceptions in an offense that has Drake London, Kyle Pitts, and Bijan Robinson. He's 35, threw for 2,300 yards in 8 games this season. And you've got an offensive coordinator there with ties to him. And according to ESPN, Vikings in the mix to sign Cousins. Fits well with Atlanta under new OC Zach Robinson, who worked under Sean McVay in L.A. There's ties to what Kevin O'Connell has done with Kirk Cousins to make him successful, who's also a McVay guy in Minnesota. And his wife has ties there. That's where I think his wife is from. No, they were married there. Him and his wife, Julie, got married in Atlanta in 2014. Kirk Cousins, Atlanta Falcons. Legit. Book it.
I'm going to lie. Absolutely. No way. I see him going to a place like Denver or potentially Washington again in a situation like that. I just can't see him going to Atlanta. He's a stable quarterback. Like I said, he doesn't hurt you as much. He just can't get you over the hump. I see being an in-between guy in a place like Denver if Russ isn't there is a situation. I'm going lie on that one.
Yeah, I'm going back and forth on this one. I don't know. And I understand like the weapons he has at his disposal and he has connections there. He's obviously dealt with some injuries. I got to go lie on this one. I would say there's probably some better fits in Atlanta when it comes to that. Look, heck, I could even see a Russell Wilson type of situation where,
Atlanta.
Just as much as he has input on where he wants to go, like Sierra also has to be a part of this decision on where they're going to end up next. And I feel like Atlanta is one of those bigger cities where she's able to do her thing too. And that's a big part of that relationship is she wants to be in a place that she can get out of easily and she can do her entertainment stuff there. But I think Russell Wilson still has it. I think this would be a place where he would have those weapons. So I'm going to go lie on that.
I would have thought Denver would have been the exact same place for her, though, too. That's going to be fascinating. I hope that's not going to be the case, but I know that plays a part. Happy wife, happy life, and all that. But Russ needs to go somewhere he can go prove it, and that's what I'm hoping. But as far as Kirk Cousins to Atlanta, I ain't say all that now.
The Vegas odds for Atlanta's next quarterback, Justin Fields, is the favorite. Atlanta is the favorite to land Justin Fields at -120. Falcons are only +600, third best odds to land Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson's odds right now, -225. Pittsburgh.
Is it really?
That's
and Kirk Cousins, -200 to go back to Minnesota, +300, the second best odds to go to Atlanta. So we'll see. I guess Vegas expecting Kirk to go back to Minnesota. I don't see it, but obviously Vegas a lot smarter than I am.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Ramon, through our next question in our Twitter DM last night, one of those aggregate Twitter NFL rumor groups said that the Arizona Cardinals are doing extensive work on Bo Nix. Well, apparently the Cardinals heard this rumor because this morning on their Twitter, they posted a tweet saying, "Our franchise quarterback," with a Kyler Murray graphic shown.
Okay.
Are the Cardinals doing extensive work on Bo Nix? Is that a legit or is it a lie?
Y'all go. Go.
No.
It's a lie. It's a lie.
It's a lie. I just want to go on the opposite side
Go
on
on
this.
the
I'm going
opposite.
legit because
Okay.
it's like, look at me post my boo thing on social media. We're happy and everybody's loving each other. I look at that and I almost want to say more legit now because of the posting, Bert. Because here's the thing. What is Kyler Murray down there as far as the contract, his playmaking ability, and what he's done with this team so far? I know the injuries played a part in it also, but here's the thing. If you want to find yourself getting more draft capital to set yourself up down the road, and guess what you do? Draft a young, cheap quarterback again. Now, I don't know where Bo Nix is going to fall, but if you're telling me as far as a backup quarterback position and going planning for the future, Bo Nix can be a guy that somewhat surprised people, went to Oregon and became a strong Heisman candidate, then you draft another quarterback. Screw his feelings. You've already paid him. He's good to go as far as that goes. Get out of that contract and go cheap and build up again. I'm going legit this time.
Now, if you were to say it was somebody else maybe in this quarterback draft, I would have said maybe
But Bo
legit.
Nix is safe enough.
I don't want safe, Ramon.
But as far as being able to stay behind Kyler Murray, learn the offense, and again, you got to also think, too, the head coach that drafted Kyler Murray is no longer there anymore. He was his plan as far as Kyler Murray's matched up with who was the coach at the time?
Kingsbury.
Cliff Kingsbury.
Yeah, which was a nightmare.
And what has Kyler been since he's gone?
And I don't think he is the guy. I'm not saying he is. I just don't know if they'd be flirting with Bo Nix. I don't know if I see Bo Nix there.
I'm going legit on this.
The Cardinals pick fourth in the NFL draft. If there was a team to benefit from a fourth quarterback rising up the draft boards, you would think it would be the Arizona Cardinals. It remains to be seen. That's what we figure out this week at the Combine. And finally, the last one on the way out, Big Dom's absence from the Eagles sideline hurt Philly down the stretch. Apparently, it affected Nick Sirianni's mental. He was not able to do his same duties in the dutiful way that he was doing them previously with Big Dom not on the sidelines. Is this legit or a lie?
That's a freaking lie. I'm sorry. I cannot. The Philadelphia talk in the last 4 days is enough to drive you crazy. And I'm listening to it. I'm listening to it because I want to know what the heck went on in Philadelphia. Was it A.J. Brown? Was it a Big Dom and his presence? I'm sorry. If you're a head coach and you can't figure out how to be calm in your emotions down there on the field, get out of here. Like, you shouldn't have to have your bodyguard Big Dom down there to make sure your emotions are in check. That's a lie.
I got legit.
Legit for me, too.
Oh.
Nick Sirianni is so fragile. I'll believe anything that comes out of there right now.
So bad.
In that locker room, I will believe anything. It's like, yeah, I could see that.
I can see. I'll be real. I can see.
There
this.
is some stuff going down,
I'm going
regardless.
legit on that one.
It's going to be fun to watch his final year coaching the Eagles.
Oh, gosh. Yeah, it could be.
It's going to be fun to watch that dumpster fire this season.
Where does AJ go next?
AJ called into a radio
I know.
station
Hey,
this
we
week.
don't have time to do more rumors. Don't start more rumors, guys.
Robert Walsh, a great job.
Yeah, good stuff.
The
That was fun.
inaugural.
That was fun.
Legit or lie?
A great job with Lie or Legit this morning. Coming up, we'll wrap up the show, recap what you missed as Justin Melo classifies differences between Joe Alt and Olu Fashanu. Interesting stuff this morning. We'll talk about next. Hey, it's Will Bowling here from my friends at Brentwood Hearing Center. Look, do you or someone close to you find it maddening to hear conversation when there's background noise? Maybe it's while you're at your favorite restaurant. Maybe you're watching your favorite team play in a crowded gym. You're at the baseball field, sitting with all the parents, and you're thinking, I can only hear the person next to me and not two people down from me. Well, you do have control over that. You got to go see Brentwood Hearing Center. With 5 doctors of audiology, state-of-the-art diagnostic equipment, and the most recent hearing device technology, they want to get you off the sidelines and back in the game of better hearing. And with over 85 years of experience from their convenient location right off of I-65 in Brentwood, they're the best people to tailor a hearing solution specifically to you, each individual patient. They're going to listen to where you have the most trouble hearing and give you the technology to help you. Give them a call today, 615-377-0420, or visit them online at BrentwoodHearingCenter.com. That's 615-377-0420. Let the madness be on the court and not in crowded restaurants this March. That's Brentwood Hearing Center. Better hearing, better life.
Life is busy. We could all use some extra time in our day, which is exactly why Two Rivers Ford offers mobile service. We'll bring the service to your driveway at no additional charge. Oil changes, brakes, batteries, the certified technicians at Two Rivers will perform basic maintenance on your vehicle wherever you are, so you'll have more time for moments like this. Schedule your mobile service appointment by scanning the QR code or calling Two Rivers Ford today.
RKW is brewed by 8th and Roast on 104.5 The Zone. As we wrap up the show, the Buck Rising Show takes the baton in just about 10 minutes. It is official, according to the Cincinnati Bengals. Pretty good source. And they just tweeted out themselves, tweeting, "We have designated T. Higgins as our franchise player." Potential Titans target. Still could be a Titans target in the trade market. Zach Taylor releasing a statement with this move, saying, "T has done an outstanding job for us since we drafted him in 2020. I'm glad that he'll continue to be a big part of our offense and our team."
There you go.
And we'll see about that.
I think he's staying.
Yeah, Will's like, we'll see about that. They are in that window to where they can hold off overpaying a bunch of other players. That's the thing about paying that franchise quarterback. You got to really start playing cap gymnastics at that point right there. Franchise tag allows that.
Sure.
So Justin Melo joined us earlier this morning talking about the differences between Olu Fashanu and Joe Alt. If you missed that podcast, you can download it wherever you download audio. We also have some Predators tickets to give away. We should do that right now.
There we go.
This is a Saturday, March 23rd matchup with the Detroit Red Wings.
Okay.
If I'm correct, Robert Walsh, on this.
Yeah, so it's the Anaheim Ducks. You can go see.
Okay.
No, the Detroit Red Wings.
Okay, I was going to say.
Wait a second.
I was
so it
reading
is a Detroit.
Ramon's Predators copy. And Saturday in Smashville. See the Predators on Saturday, March 23rd, as they take on the Detroit Red Wings. Be caller number 5 right now, as 104.5 The Zone has your chance to see the Preds in action on March 23rd, thanks to our Window Nation ticket window. Call now.
615-737-1045. Caller number 5 right now. On March the 23rd, clear your calendars for Preds and Red Wings. For me, always the Preds' number one rival, if I do say so myself. 615-737-1045. Thanks to our Window Nation ticket window. Preds and Red Wings.
Yes, they're coming off a hot road trip, and that does not always happen. It happened at the right time because they were trending in the wrong direction after the All-Star break. So really good to see them have success on the road. But now they got to come back in Smashville and win some games, guys.
Yeah, big time. That's a good one.
Go support them.
By the way, other breaking news, compliments of Kirk Cousins, if you hadn't seen it. He is posting videos of himself dropping back and throwing footballs on a tennis court, by the way.
Look at Kirk.
Yes, he is. You know why? Because business happens at the combine.
King.
Yeah, that Achilles looks
great.
good right now.
Literally my king.
That's your king. You fell in love with him with the quarterback series, right? Yeah, 100%.
It's a good guy.
That's one injury right there I would hate for anybody is that Achilles.
Ugh.
But he's doing dropbacks and throwing footballs at tennis courts. It looks like the
I'm
bubble
seeing
actually
this.
at Tennessee is where it looks like.
It's what it does look like, yeah.
Looks like the bubble, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
The Good Friend Tennis Center. That's what that is known as.
Is that what that is?
Mhm.
They actually have matches in there also?
Yeah.
Never seen it in there.
That's a big, that's a big facility here. Dang.
Yeah.
Other news over the weekend, Kyle Filipowski, Duke forward, knocks knees with somebody storming the court, and now field storming and court storming is under the microscope, to say the least. This was extremely unfortunate. It's going to start a discourse.
And again, I'm detached from the situation emotionally as far as it not being involved. I get it for a player of that caliber getting injured on a visitor's court. It's going to make you feel some type of way. I like what court storming is and upsets. They were actually the favorite in that game. The slow-mo of it make it seem like he was being a little bit of an agitator. And fast, when it's in real time, it looked like they ran into him and he just reacted to it. I don't know what's what. To avoid a player running onto the court, you need to be somewhat athletic, but I guess that's why they're in the stands and not on the court themselves.
Right.
Just an ugly situation is going to bring up a lot of conversation surrounding that.
Yeah, and you're right. It happened to Caitlin Clark, too, and I think that's why they're really starting to put a magnifying glass on this. Look, I like court storming, too. I like storming the field. Not every team should be doing that with every win that's just a ranked team. I think that should be preserved for the right moments with big upsets. But with saying that, I think they need some sort of like something with the security or the team being able to manage their group of players right after, like literally after the buzzer. And I know that's easier said than done, guys. But the fact that those guys came through the security, it didn't even look like there was security. There's got to be something that is like shored up a little bit.
Well, it's a lot versus a little in those moments when you talk
It
about
is,
courts,
yeah.
security and field. I mean, there's only so much those people in the yellow shirts can do respectfully afterwards. It's going to continue. They're going to get fined. We'll see what the ACC does.
Mm-hmm.
ACC, one of the conferences that has 0 penalties for field storming or court storming.
Well, that's going to change probably then.
This from Ben Volen just a few minutes ago on Twitter. Patriots writer. Per NFLPA records, team with the most salary cap space in the NFL, the Tennessee Titans with $90 million to spend.
Show me the money.
Titans have been ranked around the 2 or 3 spot. According to NFLPA records, they are number 1 with $10 million more than the next closest team in the Washington Commanders. Happy offseason, friends. Happy Combine Week as well. Ramon
Yes.
Foster, travel
Drive
safe to Indy.
Traveling north.
You got a lot of people in that car, so you drive safe.
I will. I drive it like my kids in the back.
Exactly.
Loading up the Sprinter as Ramon heads to Indy. We're back
The
at it
Indianapolis Colts.
tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. Ramon Foster, send us home.
Y'all must remember at all times, okay, yesterday's price is not today's price with the salary cap, but your Twitter fingers and your mic is always hot, baby.